Good Meridian. How is everyone doing today? Let's go ahead and kick off a little music. I think I like music in the jeweler. Although that's way loud, maybe. What's going on here? Is that going to be good volume? Let's see. Probably too loud, I think. All right, y'all have to let me know how that sounds. In the meantime, let's check to see if we are live. Let's check to see. Yeah, looks like we're live. All right. Welcome on in, everyone. Darrow Evil. Hey there. How are you doing today? Welcome on in. Welcome on in. So, we are just getting started with stuff today. Interested to hear what everyone is doing with your day today. Got any interesting plans for this Sunday? You doing anything special with DeFi Kingdoms or out in the physical space? TuneFed. Hey, how you doing, TuneFed? Same question to you. How is your day going? Are you doing anything special or interesting today? So it is pretty chilly here in Austin, Texas today. We're getting down to some pretty crazy temperatures. Weather in Austin right now down to 44, and of course in different parts of the world I'm sure y'all are used to cold weather, but coming up here, or I guess yesterday it got down to freezing, and coming up in a few days 18 and 20 degrees and 25 degrees Fahrenheit. That is below freezing, of course, and 18 degrees is almost world record, or not world record, but almost a record here in Austin for being super low. We don't normally get down below 25, I would say, degrees Fahrenheit. 20 degrees is super, super cold for us. And anything below that is like, we haven't had those in hundreds of years. So, pretty cold. A high of only 34 on Friday is crazy. It's hard to even imagine. All right. Let's see here. Other than that, though, it's going well. Needing to take care of some plants outside. That's one of the things I've been dealing with a little bit. And outside of DeFi Kingdoms. Getting better, Darrow Evil asks. Thanks for asking. So I've taken some expectorant to help kind of clear out my drainage and dry up my nasal drainage issue stuff. So I still have a little bit of a scratchy throat. Hopefully it's getting better. This is going on way longer than I thought it would have. We're on like 3 weeks now. So, long time. I'm researching on fishing and foraging quests. Oh, interesting. So what kind of research are you doing for fishing and foraging quests? Trying to find if they're profitable, or are you doing some other type of research? Born to Die, how you doing, man? Yeah, nice and cool here in Dallas, Fort Worth. Oh yeah, if you're in Dallas, you're gonna get some chills as well, I would imagine. Would gladly take this over the Texas heat. I do also prefer cold to the massive, 115 degrees that we've been getting every now and then recently. But man, yeah, this is a little cooler than I want. getting below 25 or 20 is too much for me. I think up in Dallas, y'all get snows fairly regularly, right? I think it snows every year in Dallas. Is that true? And for us here in Austin, even though you would think it's not too big of a difference, we only get snow about every 4 or 5 years. So it is different. Fortnite, we missed you. Yeah, I missed y'all too. I'm glad to be back. I think I've mostly overcome or gotten past whatever this thing is that I had, enough that I'm not coughing quite as much. And of course I can always just kind of press there and that'll usually do it. Little pause button. So, or mute button, I should say. So when I do cough. Let's see. Formal on quest item drops. Profitability as well. Ah. That's better. All right. Formula. Ah, I see. Formula on quest item drops. Yeah. Some snow for like a week, but for now it's rare. Yeah, it's fairly rare. I was surprised when I'm teaching these computer classes that I've taught in the past. I would say every couple of months I teach up in Dallas, and I've been doing that for 20 years. And I was surprised at how often or how much more Dallas gets snow than Austin. I was like, wow, it's quite a bit more often than I would have thought, being, it's a 4-hour drive. Well, I guess it is 4 hours, not quite straight north, but pretty close. I guess that could make a decent difference. Or maybe more like 3 hours, I guess, 3.5. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the market stuff today. Let's see what the market's doing. This has been the weekend, so we did look at it yesterday. So I would suppose that the S&P and gold market probably hasn't done much of anything in the last day. So if we look at that and we look at gold, then we've already kind of seen what gold and stock market's doing the last day. But let's look at crypto. Get a little update here on what our crypto stuff is going for. So looks like in the last day we haven't seen much of a difference, maybe a slight rise in Bitcoin itself, but this is after a massive, I say massive, pretty decent size downturn from 18.1 down to, it looks like 16.5, just within like a day and a half or so. So that's a pretty big drop. And if we zoom out pretty far, then we can see that, of course, it had been higher way back at the end of October and in November. It took a massive drop. That was the EFTX thing right there. And it's been bouncing around. Looks like we had a little bit of an upturn since the beginning of December. And then we lost all that just within a couple of days. So I think my personal feeling is we're going to see a bit more of a downturn in crypto, and in fact the entire global economic scene over the next 6 months, I guess. We'll see how it goes, but that's my expectation. So we'll probably see some lower lows over the next 6 months or so. Ethereum. We took a look at this yesterday, and Ethereum dropped off quite a bit as well, and it looks like it's doing a little bit of a recovery over the last 24 hours. Crystal and Jewel, a little bit more of our favorites as far as cryptocurrency goes. How have those been doing in the last day? So if we scroll back a little bit and just take a look at from December the 14th to the 17th, looks like Crystal has really been dropping off quite a bit. Crystal's currently sitting at just under 9 cents. It's at 8.7 cents. All right. And it looks like it had been a little bit lower, down to 8.6 cents or 8.69. not too long ago. But that's pretty low. I think a lot of people are still selling off Crystal. People aren't doing quite so much in Crystalville right now. If you're going to summon, I'm going to suggest that most people are probably doing summons in Serendale right now because of our summoning event that's going on, right? Let's invert this pair and look at Jewel. So what's Jewel been doing in the last couple of days? So here we see again, Jewel has taken a massive dip. I would not have expected that quite so much of a dip. We're down to 19 cents, or actually 19.8 cents for Jewel right now. That's quite a bit lower than I would have thought. I would say, personally, this is seems like a really good buy time for Jewel, right? I mean, isn't that what y'all are thinking too? So what I've been doing in DeFi Kingdoms for the last couple of weeks now, I guess, two weeks or something like that, is I've been doing my daily collections, and of course I haven't been collecting actually every single day, missed a day here or there, but generally collecting every day and from the garden. So I'm collecting jade, and then I'm just converting that back out to Jewel right away. I do think Jewel is probably going to be a better long-term play. I'm going to assume that most of y'all think the same thing, right? Rather than having Crystal or Jade, you probably want Jewel long-term. And so my feeling is, even though Jewel has taken a pretty big hit here over the last week or so, I think most of that has to do with the broader crypto market doing poorly, maybe even economic market, rather than DeFi Kingdoms itself. But it has taken a big punch to the gut, so that is interesting. All right, let's take a look at a couple of others. So Jade and Clay token. Let's take a look at Jade first. So it looks like Jade had been up there at about 40 cents. We saw that big drop a couple of days ago, and Jade has actually been doing pretty good. So even though Crystal is just under 9 cents, Jade is still at 24 cents and climbing over the last couple of days. So why would that be? My guess is, and probably most of y'all would agree, that probably because of the summoning event, because of the liquidity pools, that kind of thing, Jade probably right now has more of a use case value than Crystal does, right? Who cares so much about the liquidity pools in Crystalvale? I sold out all of my liquidity pools in Crystalvale a while back and moved all those, got ready ahead of time, and then have since moved them into Jade pools, right? So, hey, how you doing, man? Glad to see you here. Darrow Evil says, yeah, DCA Jewel, it's a good idea, even Crystal as well. Yeah, I would say actually DCA into everything, even Jade. I think Jade is a little higher right at the moment than it should be. I think Jade should probably come down a little bit, and will come down once the summoning event is over, and maybe even once, we only have a couple of days, guys. I think everyone remembers, but I do want to remind everyone, it's the 18th, and I think around midnight on the 21st of December. So we've only got the rest of the day today, the 19th, the 20th, 21st, so just a couple more days. And we are going to need our money if anyone is trying to get into the jeweler for that additional Gen0 raffle. You're going to need to get your money in pretty soon, right? And for me, this is the jeweler on Crystalvale. So we really need to take a look at the jeweler on the Clayton blockchain. Let's switch over to there real quick. So over here, 0 S Jewel right now. All of my liquid value is currently in the gardens right at the moment, earning me some pretty high APRs. And I think a lot of people did that same play, right? Some people might have put into SJewel early. Nothing necessarily wrong with that, although you're getting probably smaller APRs in the jeweler than you are from the gardens right now and over the last week or so. But I don't necessarily would say there's any wrong play. But I think most of us got into some of the liquidity pools, the gardens, right away. And so if you are like me and you haven't moved anything into your SJeweler yet, you've got a few days, but you definitely want to keep that in the back of your mind. In fact, let me ask chat, how many of y'all are still waiting to put something into SJeweler? Is anyone still waiting to do that? Or have y'all already put everything into SJeweler that you plan to put in? I wonder if I'm behind the ball here. Let's see. Not sure when Crystal will be in parity with Jade, but DCA Jewel would be a good idea. Yeah, I think, like I was saying, when you're talking about DCAing into things, I think actually all of crypto right now, I mean, that's Jewel and Crystal and Jade and Ethereum and Bitcoin. I think you could really, there could be an argument for DCAing into everything, right? I think that's probably a good thing. However, I think some things are a bit lower than they should be even right now with parity and stuff into DeFi Kingdoms. So what Darrow Evil is suggesting here, I would tend to agree with myself personally in that Jewel and Crystal probably right now are even more undervalued than Jade. Jade's probably not going to go up as much as Jewel and Crystal will if you just want to look at those few tokens. But I would say it's not even a bad idea right now to buy a bunch of Jade if you're going to be getting into the garden pools and be making that, 2,000% APR. That's still not a bad choice. Let's see. Sardo Fritz, how are you doing, Sardo? Waiting till the last moment, Sardo says. That's what I'm kind of doing too. However, I've given this a little bit of thought. I'm not, and I am not a financial advisor, so definitely don't listen to me. But, and I'm probably going to get wrecked on this. But I've given this a little bit of thought, and I'm kind of thinking I don't want to wait too long until the last minute, until like the very last minute. Because if everyone is doing this, then I have a feeling that Jewel is going to pump right there at the end. Like if all of us are waiting to the last minute to get out of our liquidity pools. Right now, I've got stuff in Jade and other things, right? So what happens when 500 of us, right? If 500 of us are waiting right now, and we're all in these gardens, and if we take a look at the seed box right now, and we're into Jade ETH, Jade Jewel, of course there is a little bit of Jewel there already, Jade Bitcoin, Jade USDT, and whatever, all of these Jade pools that have 2,500, 3,000% APR. Yikes. If everyone's going to be getting out of these to buy Jewel, as you're going to need Jewel itself to get into the jeweler, that means you're going to be selling Jade. Jade price is going to dump a bit, and Jewel price is going to pump when everyone's doing that. We do it all at the same time. So I've given that a little bit of thought, and I'm like, well, maybe I don't want to wait until the last minute. When do I want to make that move? It's a good question. I haven't fully decided yet. But because, of course, as soon as I pull out some from the gardens, I'm not making that high APR. Something else that I really need to give some thought to, and maybe I'll ask y'all here in chat as well, and we can discuss it a little bit. How much are you going to put into SJewel? So here's the things that we need to consider. One is, over here on Crystal Veil, I have got, 10,000? A little bit more than 10,000 SJewel? C-Jewel in there. So let's take a quick look at that roll again. And welcome on in, everybody. Zabu is here, who I didn't see earlier. Welcome on in, Zabu. And let's see. Daryl Evil says, I've already put it in. Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. You're probably not missing out on too much. Yeah, I'm short on funds. Otherwise, I'd already be in. Yeah, we got to juggle our money around a little bit. Good day, y'all, Zabu says. I'm with you, Rock. I'm thinking about pulling out now. See, I'm contemplating it, and I think we ought to have a good discussion about this right now. Just so I can get a little bit, I can feel a little bit better about what I want to do. Maybe I can give y'all some insight and some additional thoughts so y'all can make some, at least you can consider some additional input for making good decisions for yourself. I understand correctly, since Jewel dropped against my Jade pairing, this gives me more Jewel right now, right? Yes. So if Jewel dropped against your Jade, that does give you more Jewel. If you had a Jewel Jade pair, then yeah, you do have more Jewel, which is good, right? If Jewel pumps, I'll pull more Jade. That's right. So technically, I would say for you, if I was in your position, Zabu, I would probably get out of that liquidity pool sooner rather than later, just because I would want to hold more Jewel at this point, not only to get some more into the Serendale jeweler, but also because I think Jewel is going to be a longer term play. But here is something that I think that we should talk about a little bit, and that is for Crystal Veil. Let's catch up. Let's try to keep caught up in chat today. So I'm going to try to focus a bit more on our chat. Daryl says, I thought of doing putting Jewel in the gardens first, but because of impermanent loss, I thought I'll secure my spot now rather than later. So one of the things that I like to talk about often is impermanent loss. I think there's a lot of us that are a little bit more scared of impermanent loss than we should be, or than we have to be. So one of the things that we want to keep in mind, let me pull up a spreadsheet real quick. And this place in the spreadsheet will be okay, because I'm not going to tell you what. Let's find a quieter place to deal with for just a minute. So for impermanent loss, there is an impermanent loss calculator, right? That shows how much impermanent loss you're getting. And the impermanent loss is really just kind of a theoretical difference between what you're getting if you would have held one token as opposed to two different tokens in a liquidity pool, right? In fact, I may as well even pull up a real impermanent loss calculator. And I think this one was a good one to pull up. So if we start off, let's say we start off with $100 into one value and $100 into another value right there, right? And so let's say that both of those tokens go up equally, $200 to $200. Then notice that the impermanent loss is 0% right there, right? 0% impermanent loss, because both of the tokens went up equally, right? And I think you all know this, but let's just make sure that we are all on the same page. If those tokens went down to $50, is there any impermanent loss? If you bought Jade and Jewel, let's say these are Jade and Jewel tokens, you bought $100 each of them, and those tokens go down to $50 each, right? Do you have impermanent loss? The answer is no. You have no impermanent loss. Yes, you overall lost value in your funds, right? Because each of those tokens was $100, now it's $50, was $100, now it's $50. But the reason that you have impermanent loss is because of the difference in those. Hey, Sporko, how you doing? Welcome on in. And so when you are doing something, the impermanent loss comes from when one of those tokens goes up or down more than the other. Right? So if we had $100 and $100, of course, there's no impermanent loss right there. But if one of those goes up to $105, then you have impermanent loss of 0.03%. Well, let's use more realistic numbers. One of the things that I've found as I'm doing little examples like this is when we're talking quite a bit about theory, sometimes I think people don't pay a lot of attention because it's like, well, this doesn't really fit in to what we're dealing with. But let's take a look at this. If we bought these tokens, let's say you bought Jade at 40 cents and you bought Jewel at 40 cents. So there was a time when Jade was about 40 cents and Jewel was about 40 cents, right? And if those tokens are now less, and let's take a real good look. So Jade is at 24 cents. And Jewel is at 19 cents or 20, let's just say round it off to 20 cents. So let's say that we've got Jade, I'm sorry, let's do Jewel first. Let's say we've got Jewel and Jade, and now Jewel is down to 20 cents and Jade is at 24 cents. Then your impermanent loss is 0.41%. That's less than half of 1%, right? So are we really worried about losing less than half of 1% of a value of something, right? And so they have a couple of examples here where if you had $500 of one token and $500 of the other token, if you had held one token as opposed to the other, you'd have $550. But if you would have then held the other token, now your value is at $547. So you're talking like a $3 difference for a $500 value originally in each of these tokens, right? So it's a tiny, small amount of actual value lost for the prices differences that we're talking about with, 40 cent Jade and Jewel, and now 20 cent Jewel and Jade here down here, right? So I wouldn't be and what I'm trying to get at is so many people hear impermanent loss and they think it's all scary and everybody makes a big deal about it, and nobody wants loss, right? Let's get that right. Nobody wants loss. And so when you hear about, I'd rather have no loss, of course nobody would want any loss at all. And I think people are much more highly avoidant to that term, impermanent loss, just because it includes the word loss in there, right? I'm not saying that we should disregard any loss. Certainly we don't want any loss at all. But we also don't want to freak out in that we're getting some impermanent loss. So here's the other thing to think about. If Jewel is going to go down to 20 cents and Jade is going to be 24 cents, right? Then you might think, hey, I want to get out of one of these tokens a little bit sooner than the other because I don't want the impermanent loss. Well, for one thing, you've already got some impermanent loss because the difference between 20 cents and 24 cents, it doesn't matter what the original price was and now you lost half of your value, because the 40 cents down to the 20 cents has nothing to do with impermanent loss, right? If this one was 20 cents too, 0% impermanent loss, even though you lost half your value, down from 40 cents to 20 cents. Right? So that's one of the big points that I want to get across. I think most of us are already aware of that, but I do like to point that out. The impermanent loss comes from the difference, that divergence in those two values. So when we're talking about such a small dollar value, then the percentage of that impermanent loss is really small. Right? And of course, if you've got $10,000 of something, some value, then yeah, half of 1%, 1/2 of 1% is a couple of dollars. But it's not anything that I would really be too concerned about. And one of the other things that we need to keep in mind when we are worried about impermanent loss at all is, even though there is half of 1% impermanent loss, what are you making every day in values in APRs, right? And so let's not think about that. Let's think about this. Even though I've been getting, or even though I have 0.5% impermanent loss now because I've got Jade and Jewel and I'm holding those. Let's go back over here and go back into the gardens and take a look at this, into the seed box, and see what percentage APR we're getting. And what I'm getting at right now, as we're having to wait for the wheel to spin here, is that the APR, I absolutely is going to guarantee, is going to way make up for the difference in impermanent loss. So if we're getting 1,857% APR right now by having this pair, right? The only way that you're getting this APR is to have the pair of Jade and Jewel. And so, let's say that I've got, let's come back over here, the spreadsheet for a minute. And let's say that I've got $1,000, or do y'all want to use a lower number? I guess it doesn't really matter what number we use. USD value. And so let's just put, this is $1,000, and let's get rid of some of those things there. So if you've got 1,000 USD value into this token right now, and if you're making APRs of 1,820%, let's back out of that a little bit. $1,820% APR. Right? This is the APR. Then in 1 year, 1 year gains, we should see equals AA multiplied by AA 225 multiplied by AA 226. And let's make it a little easier to start off with. So if we have 100% APR, if you start off with $1,000, and then you've got 100% APR, which everyone's easy to understand that, then you're going to have an additional $1,000 in gains at the end of that year, right? And if we say daily, then daily gains, then you can take that 1,000, which is AA 227, multiplied, or I'm sorry, divided by 365, and you can see that you're getting, let's maybe add some places out of decimal, you're getting about $2.74 for the 100% APR on $1,000. But our gains are 1,800% APR. That means if you've got $1,000 in there, in 1 year, you're gaining $1,800. So every single day that you have that in there, you're getting about $50 a day. So here's my question to you. If you're gaining $50 a day in value, then why do you care about 0.4% loss, right? For the impermanent loss. I really don't care about that at all. I'm much more concerned about losing half my value from 40 cents down to 20 cents. That's a little bit more impactful, right? But it wouldn't matter whether I pulled out and had my whole amount into Jade or whether I pulled it out and had my whole amount into Jewel. Both Jewel and Jade dropped from 40 cents to 20 cents and 40 cents to 24 cents. So I would have lost about half my value if I would have been in either of those tokens, right? So if I'm going to be in any one of those tokens, then why not also be making $50 a day from that value there, right? So that's what I look at. And when I'm thinking about impermanent loss, I don't want to get consumed with the word impermanent loss if I'm still making $50 a day off of that. And if you want to plug in smaller numbers for this, we can, right? Let's see. Self says, with Crystal being down, I feel that it's good to get back into Crystalville garden pools. I agree, and I agree partially, and I'm not sure I fully agree partially with that. I definitely, Zelf, I definitely agree that now with Crystal being down so much, it's a really good time to DCA and get into Crystal, because I feel that Crystal is not going to stay down at 9 cents for very long. It's very likely it's going to rebound up, and Crystal probably is going to go up quite a bit more than Jade is going to go up or down, right? So if Crystal right now is at 9 cents and it's all the way down here on the chart, right? It's got a lot more opportunity to go up to 10 to 20 cents, you know, and meet Jade somewhere in the middle. Jade, if Jade and Crystal are going to be ultimately gaining parity, then right now Jade's going to have to go down by about, 6 cents or so? Whereas Crystal's going to have to go up by that same amount, just about, to reach parity. Or once we get out of the bear market, everything's going to go up. But of course, your Crystal DCA will get you a lot more value. So in that particular case, I agree. Getting into Crystal right now is probably going to increase your overall money a lot more. But that has more to do, let's look back at the impermanent loss calculator for a minute. That has more to do with the fact that if these things right now are, let's say that Jade is 24 cents and let's say that Crystal is 8 cents, right? If Jade is 24 cents and Crystal is 8 cents right now, and let's say that both of these end up going up to 25 cents, right? So Jade goes up to 25 cents, and let's say Crystal ultimately goes up to 25 cents because we're figuring that there's going to be parity overall. You've still gained value in Jade from 24 cents to 25 cents, but you've gained a lot more value from the Crystal going up from 8 cents to 25 cents. In fact, the impermanent loss that you are going to take if you continue to have a pairing of those is 13% loss. In other words, it would have been much, much better to hold Crystal than to hold both Jade and Crystal as a pair together, right? So in that particular case, yeah, Zelf, I definitely agree. However, I would say that when you're talking about getting back into a liquidity pool, you need to be careful with that, because what that means is that half of your Crystal value, half of that token that could be worth 8 cents, that's going to go up to 25 cents, you're putting that into another token that's not going to go up very much, right? So here's the idea. If you get into Crystal Veil and you get into Crystal some other token, then you're going to see impermanent loss on a pretty big scale like we're seeing right here, because the Crystal side of your pair is going to go up a lot, but the other side of your pair might not go up a whole lot. So that's where I would say maybe it would be better just to hold 100% Crystal and wait for that Crystal pump at some point, right? There is something to keep in mind though, and that is if you're just only holding Crystal, you're not seeing any of those APRs. You've got to get into the liquidity pool to see those APRs increase, which will help to make up for some of that difference. Some of that impermanent loss won't matter if you have value in a liquidity pool that's making you money every day. Just like we saw here, I don't mind having a little bit of impermanent loss if my daily gains through a liquidity pool is, 1,800% APR. But here's something else you need to look at. If you're in a 20% APR liquidity pool right now, or from that, with that same $1,000, you're only getting 55 cents a day gains. And I would say that's probably not the best place for that money to be, right? Even though it could be in crystal, you have to be cautious about that, because what would happen in that particular case is if you had $1,000 into like crystal and jade or something like that, the crystal half of that, the $500 worth of crystal, that part would double or even triple in value from 8 cents to 24 cents. That's a tripling in value. So you wouldn't be getting a whole lot of value from the 20% APR, or even if it was even if it was 100% APR. I don't know what the APRs are like in Crystalvale right at the moment, but even if it was 100% APR, it's going to take you 1 year to double your value with that APR. But if you're expecting crystal right now to be at 8 cents, and crystal's going to go up to 25 cents in a month, then you've tripled your value in 3 months or 2 months when crystal doubles or triples its value. If you're holding that, that's way, way, way faster. It's a much, much higher percent quote APR, if you want to look at it that way, than being in a liquidity pool. So if I was going to do that play, if I was going to do that play myself, I would say just convert a whole bunch of stuff to 8-cent crystal and wait for that crystal to go up to 25 cents. You've tripled your value probably in a couple of months, right? Just got to wait for that pump. And I think crystal going from 8 cents to 25 cents is pretty easy to do. That's my viewpoint on that. Durable says, my thought about it, if I had $2,000 or 2,000 Joule and split it in a liquidity pair, for example, Jade and Joule, so it'd be 1,000 Joule and 900 Jade. It's not an accurate number, right? Okay. And by the time I remove the LP, if both Joule and Jade drop, I won't have 2,000 Joule to put into S-Joule. That is true. Well, that's not true. That's not true. Let me read over your thing again, because that's not necessarily true. If I had 2,000 Joule and split it between this, for example, this, and by the time I removed both Joule and Jade dropped, that I wouldn't have 2,000 Joule. So that's not right. So here's the thing. When you have a liquidity pool, and let's actually go to a real liquidity pool right here, right? So how that works, I've got Jade and Joule right here, manage Jade and Joule. So I've got 21 Joule and 17 Jade. And the thing that we need to remember about liquidity pools is that these two tokens always remain in a balance. In other words, if the value of Joule goes down relative to Jade, and that's one of the biggest things that I think we need to keep in mind. If they go down in value relative to the other token, then you end up with more of that token. In other words, maybe I should show it on a spreadsheet. That would be a little bit easier to show. So let's say you've got, and one thing we have to remember about liquidity pools is we need to keep in mind that we're dealing with something like USD value, right? So let's take a look at USD value again over here. This is impermanent loss. So let's say that we've got, let's say we got 1,000 US dollars again into some token, right? Or we have 1,000 US dollars and we want to put that into a liquidity pool. And so let's say that we've got Joule price And let's say Jade. You want Jade as your other one? We could do whatever tokens you want to have an example for that make more sense to you. So the Jewel price right now, let's just round this off to what was Jewel? 20. Jade is 24 cents at the moment. And Jewel is, let's say, 20 cents at the moment, right? So Jewel is 20 cents at the moment. Jade is 24 cents at the moment, right? Let's put those as dollars as well. Okay. So let's say that you want to, you have 1,000 US dollars and you want to create a liquidity pool of this. So what we have to do is we have to split our USD value, $500 into Jewel and $500 into Jade, because you have to have equal amounts of US dollar amounts of those things, right? So amount of Jewel and the amount of Jade is going to be, the amount of Jewel is going to be equal to this thing right here, X 255 divided by 2, right? So it's $500, and this is also equal to this amount divided by 2. So right now, I'm not done with this, but we can see that we're starting the formula for $500 worth of Jewel, and then $500 worth of Jade is going to go in there. So now let's take this and multiply that times the price of Jewel, which is this amount right there. And we're going to take this amount and multiply that by the price of Jade right now. So what this means is your 1,000 US dollars is going to go into 100 Jewel tokens and 120 Jade tokens right there, right? That's what we're going to need. That's not correct, though. My math is off. There we go. Let's do that. All right. So this is more correct. It's going to take 2,500 Jewel tokens. And if we take that, equals 2,500 Jewel tokens times 20 cents each, that's $500, right? And if we take the 2,083 Jade tokens times the 24 cents, that's where we get just about $500 as well for that. So this is the amount of Jewel tokens that's going to be equal to $500, and this is going to be the amount of Jade tokens that equals $500, right? And so what we want to say here is that over some amount of time, the price of those things is going to change. So this is the starting amounts and prices. And I'm just going to color this in kind of like a green. This is start. All right. So then at the end of the time period, whatever we want to say that that is, then let's say that we have got a, let's say that the value of that goes down for both, right? So we've got, let's say an 18-cent Jewel price, and we've got a 16-cent Jade price. Let's take both of these as well. And this will be our ending section. We'll put that in yellow. All right. So at the end, Jewel has gone down a couple of cents. Jade has gone down a lot more cents right here. Now, what we have to do is we have to keep in mind that we have these equal, it's always going to be a balanced amount of these tokens. And one of the other things that we need to keep in mind is the percent of our pool. That's the biggest thing that we need to keep in mind, right? Is our total dollars compared to the total dollars in the entire pool. So let's think about this. Total pool value. Let's say that there is $2,000. Let's just make it real easy. Right there. And in fact, let's move this down then. So if the total pool value is $2,000, we put in $1,000 of that, then we own half of the pool value, correct? Our percent of pool. And so we're going to take equals this amount. Oops. This amount, and we want that to be a percentage, right? And let's move that over. So we've got 50%. The total pool value is $2,000. We have $1,000 in there. We own 50% of the pool value right there. And that gives us a certain amount of tokens. So let's say, to make it real easy, let's say that gives us 50 pool tokens. Now, one of the things that you're going to notice when we take a look at our liquidity, we have got pool tokens right here. My pool tokens and your pool tokens. So my pool tokens right here are 19.02 pool tokens. This value never changes right here. The number of pool tokens that you bought, that's never going to change. So you still have that same amount of number of pool tokens. Umar, hey, how you doing, Umar? If more people put in more money, my pool tokens is not going to change, but the percentage of the pool that I own is going to go down because more and more people are putting in more pool tokens. But in my example that we're going to have here, we're going to make it super easy because we're trying to make a very specific point with this. So you're buying pool tokens, and that's the percentage of the pool that you have, right? So I have 50 pool tokens. It's 50% of our pool. That's the amount of money that I put in, and this is the total pool value. So when the prices go down, how many pool tokens do we still own right here? Pool tokens owned. This is still going to be the same amount that you originally had, right? Equals that. And the reason that it's going to be the same amount is because you bought those pool tokens and that's what you have. And let's assume in our example right here that that no one else is putting in any more money. Again, we just want to make it super simple. We don't want to have extra people adding money in or anything like that that's going to make stuff up or that's going to change some stuff. We could add that later if you really want to see how that could affect value, but we don't need to do it for this. Sergeant, hey, how you doing? Sergeant, welcome on in. We're talking a little bit about impermanent loss, and we're doing an interesting discussion right now for those of you that are just dropping in. We're talking about how we might better play with our money. Do we want to get into liquidity pools? Do we want to stay in those liquidity pools? How much we're going to move into the S jeweler? Do we want to get into Crystal, since Crystal's so cheap, DCA into Crystal itself? Do we want to get into Crystal pools or liquidity pools on Crystal Veil instead? That's the kind of stuff that we're talking about. And the question was raised, we might want to get back into Crystal Veil pool, and then also the amount of jewel that you might have might drop if the value of your liquidity pool goes down. And that's not the reason that you might end up with less, that's not necessarily the reason you're going to end up with less jewel, is what I'm trying to show. So you still own 50%, or you still own those 50 pool tokens, and let's say that that's still 50% of the pool value. So we're just going to take this same number right here and copy that over. So in our particular example, oops, let's say equals that. So in our particular example right now, it's important to know that we still own our same pool tokens, which we always will. That's not going to change no matter what. And that no one else is putting in any more money, no one's taking out any money. We still have 50% of the pool as we did before. So what does that mean for our amount of jade and jewel that's going in right now? So for this, one thing that we're going to take a look at here first is in fact, I think it might be easier just to show on a permanent loss calculator, come to think of it, now that I'm about to do all that math on the spreadsheet. Because let's come back to our spreadsheet for just a minute. We're starting off with 20 and 24 cents. All right. So if we're starting with 24 cents and 20 cents in these tokens, and then let's say that that value is dropping in, let's say it goes down to, actually, let me show it even easier than that. Maybe I wasted a bunch of time, and this is just a bit easier to show it this way. Excuse me. If you have some tokens, and they're, let's say, to start off with this, if they're 20 cents each, and they both lose value, right? So if cryptocurrency is down right now over some amount of time, and they both lose value, they drop from 20 cents each to 15 cents each, and you have some amount of value in those, you start off having an equal amount of tokens for A and B. This could be J, this could be Jewel, whatever. But you have an equal amount of tokens for those things. If the price falls down to 15 cents, you still have exactly the same amount of tokens, but the overall value has changed, right? So you've lost 25% of your money from 20 cents to 15 cents, as 25% or 1/4 of your value has gone down. But you still have the same amount of tokens. And it doesn't have anything to do with the liquidity pool itself is not causing you to lose the value. The cause is the entire drop of the crypto market and the fact that those tokens went from 20 cents to 15 cents. It wouldn't matter if you had it in a liquidity pool or not. Your value, if you had everything in jade at 20 cents and jade drops down to 15 cents, even if you only had jade and that was the only coin you had, you're still going to lose 1/4 of your value, right? So you still have the same amount of tokens, but your value is dropped just because of the crypto market being down. So what's happening is when one of the tokens changes, let's say that we go from 20 cents to 15 cents in one, and we go from 20 cents to 10 cents in another token, right? In the different token. Here's where you're going to have some differences in the amount of tokens that you're pulling out. Notice that we started off with 2,500 of one token and 2,500 of the other token. You started with an equal balance, right? Because those tokens are equally priced. And if you're splitting $500 into one and $500 into another, you have the same amount of tokens in one, you have the same amount of tokens in another. But because the price has changed, notice that even though both of these amounts have gone down from 20 cents to 15 cents, 15 cents, from 20 cents to 15 cents, and from 20 cents to 10 cents, both of the values have gone down, but look at what you have here. You started with 2,500 of those tokens, but now you've got 3,061 of that token at the end. The token that went down more, you have more of. The token that went down less, you have less of. So the token that you originally had, 2,500, you have only got 2,000 of that token. But notice that there's this balancing act, right? The left side and the right side, or token A and token B, have to remain balanced. So if one token goes down, or you get less of one token, you have to be getting more of the other token. Right? So you pull out 3,000 instead of 2,500, and you pull out 2,000 instead of 2,500. So that's the difference in why what somebody was saying up here a little earlier. If you had 2,000 Jewel and you split it in that pair, so it'd be Jewel and Jade, and you'd have those numbers, and then by some time you remove the liquidity pool and Jade and Jewel both dropped, wouldn't you have less Jewel? No, not necessarily, because in this particular case, if this first one was Jade and the second one, the token B, is Jewel, and if Jewel drops more in price, then you're going to end up with more Jewel, not less, than you put in, right? And if Jade was 20 cents, and even if it drops also down to 15 cents, it's dropped less, it's lost less value, and so you end up, because it's retained more of its value, then you get less of that token. Because that token has a higher value when compared to the other one. Does that make sense? I know I went way too, around a whole other block talking about the spreadsheet when I didn't have to. I could have just shown it right here in the impermanent loss calculator. And so really, Daredevil, what it comes down to is which token is losing more value faster by the time you pull it out. The token that's losing more value faster, you will have more of that token. So if Jewel is going down faster, you'll have more Jewel. If if Crystal is going down faster, you'll have more Crystal or Jade, or whatever is going down faster, you'll have more of that token. All right. That's something interesting to be considering. Sabu says, your explanation on illiquidity loss is why I was not afraid to enter pools at the start. Exactly right. Yeah, because again, I'm not scared of a small percentage. Look at this, the impermanent, even going from 20 cents to 15 cents and 20 cents down to 10 cents. Look at this. This token right here is losing half of its value down to 10. That impermanent loss is still only 2%. It's only a 2% loss. And if you look at this, it's a difference between $625 and $612. It's only a $12 difference on a $500 investment. And of course, if you're putting in more, then of course do the multiplication. If you're putting in $5,000, multiply that by 10 or whatever it is. But a 2% impermanent loss, oh no, I can't have any impermanent loss. Dude, it's 2%, which means the difference of $12 between doing one thing or the other thing. You make back more than $12 as long as you keep it in a liquidity pool where you're making 100% APR, 1,000% APR from that pool, right? Yeah, Zabu, I wouldn't be worried about the impermanent loss stuff. You're making way more from the gains. Zelf says, that's a good point about the token pairing gardens. Crystal BTC is 100% APR, and second disc Crystal Clay is at 89% APR. Yeah, so the thing that we would want to look at, if we're deciding between Crystal BTC and Crystal Clayton, is Crystal is going to do whatever it's going to do no matter what. And so we can kind of take out Crystal if you know you're going to get into one of those, right? Either Crystal or BTC or Crystal Clay. Then it doesn't really matter what Crystal does, because that value is going to go up or down no matter. Here's something that you would want to think about if you're going to be getting into Crystal BTC or Crystal Clay. And the thing to think about is, at the end of your time in that pool, when you pull out, what's giving you more APR percent? Let's take a look at the difference between 89% APR and 100% APR. And Zelf, do you want to throw out a dollar amount? Like, just give me are we talking about $100, $500, $1,000, $10,000? What kind of dollar amount do you want to take a look at for some gains? Just throw out some kind of number. And we can look at more than one number. If you want to look at the difference between $100 and $1,000, we could do that too. I'll give you a minute to catch up in chat, or for anybody. It doesn't have to be Zelf. It could be anybody. Y'all want to look at the difference between what a 89% APR and 100% APR is going to be? So when you're trying to choose what APR to get into, does it really matter that much? So let's just take $1,000 here, right? So $1,000, and let's take a weekly gain also, weekly gain. And that's going to be equal to the daily gain times 7, right? So if you have $1,000 of investment in a liquidity pool and you're getting 100% APR, it's going to be about $2.75 a day, or about $19 a week for that, right? And what we're talking about right now, yes, over a year, it's going to be $1,000 of gain. However, we really want to be very, very cautious when we're looking at DeFi Kingdoms or crypto in general and these APRs that fluctuate so much. Because even though we can look at some of these APRs right in here, and this is like 3,000% APR, do you honestly think that this liquidity pool is going to be 3,000% the entire next 365 days? I don't think anyone thinks that, right? And so when we're taking a look at our spreadsheet, this is really an outrageous number that we shouldn't take very serious. Whatever we're going to have in 1 year, we should really be looking at the short-term daily gains, or maybe even a weekly gain, because by then the APR is going to change quite a bit, right? So in this particular case right now, I have a feeling that what we're talking about is we're talking about getting into Crystal Veil pools or Serendale pools and pulling out a certain amount of money to get into the S Jeweler in the next 3 days, right? And so I think we're thinking about something fairly short term as far as what kind of gains we're going to get in, let's say, the next week, right? And then if you want to extrapolate this out further, we can. But what's the difference really, honestly, for $1,000 at 100% APR for a week? It's $20. If we go down to 89% APR, you're looking at $17.07. Right? $17.07. So what's the difference between $17.07? Let's just put that down here. $17.07 for 89% APR. And the 100% APR is, 100% APR, is getting us $19.18. So you're talking about a $2 difference between an 89% and 100% APR in a week, right? So if I know that I'm going to only have that money in there for a short amount of time before I do something else with it, and if you're really thinking about keeping it in there for a longer time period, then yeah, that could add up. And if you want to look at the entire year, That's going to be the difference between $1,000 or $890. So for an entire year, if we can maintain that 89% and 100% for full 365 days, you're talking about $110 difference. That's decent, right? I mean, that's not too much. $110, it's 10%, right? 11%. And for some people in some parts of the world, that could be quite a bit. But you're also talking about like $110 over the course of the entire year, which is less than $10 a month. I mean, when I go out to eat, I'm not worried about spending $10 going out to, buying my coffee. And, I spend a lot more than that on a weekly basis, much less care about what $10 is what's happening with $10 in a month. So I personally might not put a lot of weight on the difference between 100% and 89%, although we need to consider that. Here's, I think, the bigger thing that we would need to consider, and that is, coming back up to your question again, or your statement up here, should we be getting into Crystal BTC or Crystal Clay? I think the bigger question is, because the APR percentages is not that much of a difference, right? I think the bigger thing to look at is, what is Bitcoin going to do and what is the Clay token going to do over the next week or month or year, right? Clay token right now is looking at, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Let's come over here and look at Clay. The Clay token right now is 15 cents, right? Clay token is 15 cents. And if we zoom out on that, we've seen Clay go all the way up to, well, at least 19 cents right there. I'll tell you what, let's do. Let's look at this in CoinMarketCap, maybe a little bit easier. Clay. And let's take a look at the last year for Clay token. So Clay token had been at $1.20. Right now it's at 20 cents. So that's 6 times its value right now. From 20 cents to 120 cents. That's about a 6x, 6-time multiplier from its high back in February, right? So let's go ahead and look at Bitcoin. Or let me ask you this. What do you think the likelihood of the Clay token getting back up to 6x its value right now, or 120 cents, or even Clay going from 20 to 40 cents, or 20 to 60 cents, 3 times its value right now? Right? What's the likelihood of that happening in the next month or 2 months? One or 2 months? You think Clay can get back up to 40 cents in a month or 2 months? The next thing that we'll look at is Bitcoin. And we'll take a look at the last year for it. Right now, it is down somewhere around 17,000, and it had been up to around 40,000, right? So it's lost a little bit more than half of its value in there. So do we think that over the next month or 2 months or 6 months that Bitcoin is going to double or triple in value? Or what's the likelihood? I think the real question is, over the next week, if you're looking at this short term because you're looking at DeFi Kingdoms and you're wondering if you're going to get into a liquidity pool in DeFi Kingdoms for the month of December, let's say. So you're looking at the month of December. Is the Clay token going to double in value, is more likely to double in value over this next month, or is Bitcoin more likely to double in value this next 6 months? Right? That's what I would be looking at. And the reason that I'd be looking at that is because if one of those tokens has a higher chance to double in value, that would be the one that I would want to get into, whether it's Crystal Bitcoin or Crystal Clay. Because the value of this going up is going to be better, or I should say the advantage of the token itself going up is going to outweigh, probably it's going to outweigh the income that you're getting from an 89 or 90% APR, right? So if you've got $1,000 in there, then in a week you're gaining $17. But if clay doubles in value in this next month, that's a lot more money, just having clay double in value, than it would be for the APRs to rack up, right? That's kind of the thing that I look at with this. And so when I'm comparing, do I want to get into Crystal BTC or when I want to get into Crystal Clay, I would say I think Crystal is a good thing to get into. So either Crystal BTC or Crystal Clay could be good, just because the Crystal side of it, I really think that Crystal is going to shoot up from 8 cents it is now to, it's easy for Crystal to double or triple in value, I think. And for that reason alone, I might say I don't want to split my part of my Crystal into Bitcoin or part of my Crystal into Clay. I'd just rather hold 100% of Crystal pure and let that 100% of my value or 100% of my tokens double in value. That's what because I feel so strongly that it's just a matter of waiting for Crystal to get that pump from 8 cents to 16 cents. I mean, literally, guys, what is the likelihood of Crystal going from 8 cents to 16 cents? Right? I think that that's really easy to do, especially with Jade being at 24 cents. I think it's a whole lot more likely that Crystal is going to double in value this month than Bitcoin's going to double in value this month, or Clay is going to double value this month. And if I am that sure, if I'm as sure as I am that it's more likely that Crystal will double in value, then I wouldn't want to be getting into a liquidity pool and splitting a half of my Crystal into some token that's not going to double in value. I'd want all of my tokens to double in value. That's the way I look at it. If I'm not very sure, if I'm not very confident that Crystal is going to double in value this month, then yeah, I might get into a liquidity pool this month, because getting some of those APRs is better than having Crystal not do any pump this month and Crystal sits down at a low value all this month. And now personally, I can see a real reason that Crystal is not going to pump this month. And the reason that Crystal is not going to pump this month is because nobody gives a crap about Crystal right now because of all the stuff going on in Serendale. The liquidity pools in Serendale are higher, so people want Jade for those. People want Jade and Jewel, I should say Jewel. People want Jewel for putting into the Sea Jeweler and to play the game with Jade. There's not really a lot incentivizing Crystal right now, so I do not think in the month of December that Crystal is going to double in value. I don't think that's going to get a pump, and so in that particular case, I might go into a Crystal BTC or a Crystal Clay and have it sit there until the end or middle or beginning of January, right? Because we know that at the end of or middle of January, when we have less pressure on Serendale for summoning events, specifically in Jade and summoning events, then there will be ultimately some kind of parity between Jade and Crystal, right? There will be more parity between Jade and Crystal. And so the likelihood at that time, when there's no massive advantage of being in Serendale, then people are going to probably start playing a little bit more back on Crystal Vale when things are evened out a little bit more. And in that particular case, I think Crystal's going to pump back up. Jade will drop, Crystal will pump into this parity as they move along. But that might not be until January, so getting into a Crystal something pool until then, and then at the end of, or I should say at the beginning of January, the first week, or maybe first, second week of January, pull out of your pool and then convert that Bitcoin into Crystal, convert that Clay into Crystal. That would probably be a good thing to do there. Let's see. Also, need to consider the value gained from good garden boosting rewards. I see 1 Jade bonus very often. Oh, that is true. That is true too, Zabu. So, well, we haven't really considered that a lot. But if you are in a good garden and you are doing questing against that and you get a couple of bonuses every now and then because of that, that would be another reason to not sit fully in crystal, or I should say to not be out of the gardens. You probably want to be in the gardens to see those extra questing bonuses. And if you're seeing it, quote, very often, then it does add up. Absolutely. That would add up. And in my previous explanation, I was not taking that into consideration at all. So that would be something that y'all would have to put into consideration too. TuneFed says, second Spellbow attempt was Potato Legionnaire. Bummer. It happens every now and then, but try and try again. Honestly, I feel the BTC could rise more than Clay. I do too, Zelf. I mean, if we were really going to take a closer look at the difference between Bitcoin and Clay, I agree with you. I think Bitcoin has a higher chance of going up than Clay. I mean, I could be mistaken on that. Ghost Panda, hey, how are you doing, Ghost Panda? Haven't seen you around in a little while. How's your day going? What have you been up to? Crypto Kong in the house. Appreciate all you do, Rock. Thank you. Thank y'all for being here. Even if y'all just stop in for a little bit every now and then, I love to see y'all's names in chat. How are you doing today, and what are you up to? Zabu says, oof, not even an advanced class. Yeah, no, not even an advanced class. Ah, yikes. Yeah. Let's see. Zabu says, I think I'll jump into some crystal starting near January the 7th. Yeah. Zabu, I'm probably going to forget about that by then. Try to remind me a little bit off in private, because I think that's something that I'm going to want to be reminded about also. I think that's probably going to be a good move. We want to be ahead of the game a little bit, so we don't want to wait until the last minute. I'm not sure about January the 7th specifically, but sometime right around in there, I think that could be a good thing. Some of us live here. Yeah, Sergeant. Yeah, some of y'all do live here. Sergeant's here quite a bit. Zabu is here quite a bit. TuneFed's here. Man, TuneFed, I think, is here just about all the time. Michael, how are you doing, Michael? Great to see your name here in chat again as well. Can't complain, man. Just waiting on a couple of summon cooldowns. Oh, nice. So, Ghost Panda, I have got to assume you are doing summons for the summoning event in Serendale, right? Is it cheaper to do summons in Crystal Vale right now, guys? I mean, if we're going to be doing summons, and Crystal right now is 8 cents, if you're putting in new money, it's quite a bit cheaper, isn't it? Crystal is at, I guess I should stop saying 8 cents. I guess it's closer to 9 cents, right? Crystal's closer to 9 cents right now. But if we look at Jade right now, Jade's at 24 cents. Jade is almost 3 times more expensive. So, you know, yikes. Sabu says, is there an incentivized pool for Crystal Jade? No, I don't think there's any Crystal anything in Serendale. I could be mistaken. We could go look right now. But I do not think there's any Crystal in Serendale at all, like 0. Let's see. There's Jade Jewel, Jade USDT. So we've got Avox, we've got Clay, Ethereum, Clay, BTC. No, there is no Crystal whatsoever in there at all. Yeah. Let's see. Crystal does not exist in Serendale, not even in the trader decks. That is true. Yeah. I think if we went in there, it wouldn't even exist. In fact, I don't even think that there's a contract token address for Crystal in Serendale. Isn't that right? Like on the Clayton blockchain, there's not even a contract address for Crystal in there, right? So you couldn't even add it if you wanted to, is what I'm getting at. You know how you could come into the marketplace? I think some of y'all know. You can come into the marketplace and go into the trader, and when you're looking up something, one of the things says you could paste an address, right? You can paste an address. And that's how we got the honk token in here. Of course, honk token's not available in Crystal Vale, but it is over in Serendale, right? So if we switch back over, I mean, it is in Crystal Vale, not in Serendale. So if we move back over to the DFK chain and took a look in there as well, then we should be able to see that you can put in honk tokens and you could see that value out. And of course, that has a contract address in Serendale, I mean, in Crystal Vale. All I need is 4 summons in Serendale. Zabu has set the expectation. Ooh, yeah, that's right. You know, that is true. I think Bolin was saying that 10% of the winners for, was it summons or dark summons? I forget what. Were 4 summons or under. 10% were 4 summons or under for the winners. So yeah, I think there has been some kind of a set precedence, even though if everyone's trying for that and more people do, then I think that there's going to be less of a chance this next time. But I mean, it doesn't take a lot. That's what I learned. It doesn't take a lot of summons. Might want to go look at getting a subscription to Wallet DMs and watch for big crystal moves. Oh yeah, that is a good idea. If you're watching a lot of whales or big players moving around a lot of crystal, you'd probably get a heads up before anyone even mentioned it. Because even us content creators, if you're absorbing some of your content and getting some of your alpha from us in a way, or maybe even ideas, nobody's going to report that until after they see it. And even after they see it, they might take advantage of it before they report on it, right? I do my 2 Gen0 summons in Serendale and first 2 summons on 1010s. Ah, yeah. So you're doing quite a few summons. Oh my goodness. Ghost Panda, how many summons do you plan to do in Serendale before the 7th or whenever the thing ends? Are you planning to get, 20 summons in, 100 summons in, 500 summons? Just a rough estimate. Kind of curious what kind of goal you're shooting for, because it sounds like you're going to be doing summons every 3 days from your Gen0 and pair, and then you're going to be, from those, you're going to be doing a couple of additional summons. So every 3 days you're getting another 10 of 10, and so every 6 days you're getting this other pair. And so for the next 3 or 4 weeks, it seems like you're going to be doing summons every few days. That seems like quite a bit of summons overall. I'm not going to do the math in my head at the moment, but I think that's going to add up. Everything else you're doing in Crystal Vale. Yeah, I think Crystal Vale is very inexpensive right now. Absolutely. I've been grinding raffle tickets in Fight Club today. Oh, interesting. Yeah, I have an AI pair that's doing some stuff in Fight Club. I haven't really been paying a lot of attention to it. I just kind of feel it is what it is. I've got that going. It's earning me a little something, but I haven't paid a lot of attention to it. So it sounds like you're really working on that. That sounds cool. Sabu says, I'm just a potato. Yeah, I think a lot of us are potatoes. John Wall says, crystal is the way. I do think so. I mean, at a 9-cent crystal right now. Pran, how you doing, Pran? Onk, indeed. See, TuneFud won 6 whole tickets from you battling the AI team. Ah, interesting. So, Zabu, TuneFed won tickets from me? From my AI? That's cool. Glad that y'all are winning some stuff. TuneFed says 172 so far. Wow. Ghostman says, I'm probably somewhere between 20 and 30 right now, but I'm not doing it really for the raffles. Oh, you're just doing regular summon stuff. Interesting. Yeah. So my feeling on summons right now, and I could be way off. I've flopped around my thinking on this. But right at the moment, I haven't been doing a ton of summons, and I don't think I will be doing a ton of summons, even though I probably should. I think there's been enough talk out there that with summoning prices right now as low as they are, I should probably be doing as many as I can and stock up on those heroes. That would probably be the better play. But I haven't been doing it right now because I don't want to spend even that much money on summoned heroes, because I'd rather put that money into liquidity pools and get it ready for S-Jeweler and that kind of stuff. But I could definitely see how your strategy is probably better than mine. Let's see. I was at top 75 in summoning event for both the regular Dark Summon and didn't win. That's crazy. Oh man, Ghost Panda, sorry to hear that, man. That is not fun. So you're not counting on it. Yeah, that would kind of bum me out. If I put that much time and energy into something and got into the top 75 and I didn't win on either of those, that would really bum me out. Yeah. Of course, I think the top person in Dark Summoning didn't win there either, right? I felt really bad about that. The top person for Dark Summoning did not win a Gen0 get pulled at all. And that was pretty crazy. Definitely got rugged on that. Yeah. Worm369. Hey, how you doing, Worm? Great to see you back in here. Doing similar summoning strategy as Ghost Panda. Yeah. So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ghost Panda, Worm, it seems like y'all are doing a similar type of thing. Is what y'all's strategy, is one of the reasons that y'all are doing that right now is you're feeling that you're wanting to get some summons in over there just to get a little bit of, I mean, if you weren't trying for raffle tickets at all, you'd be doing your summons over on Crystal Vale, right? I mean, that's the first part of the question. You'd be doing all your summons on Crystal Vale. It's way cheaper to do summons over there. So the only reason to do summons on Serendale right now is to have at least some entries, a decent amount of entries into the raffle, right? Otherwise, if you're trying to do, 10 summons a month or something or more, then you'd be doing those summons on Crystal Vale. I can't help but think that that's the thing that y'all would be doing. Umarel says just over 7,000 summons in Serendale. Oh my goodness. That's a lot of summons in Serendale for this short amount of time. Same bad luck for you, around top 80 for each. Wow. Hopefully we can win some stuff here coming up in Serendale. I'm going to be really bummed. I'm going to be real. So I didn't win any Gen0s for anything that I've done so far either. And I'm going to be really bummed out if I try 10 different methods to get a Gen0 and all of those 10 different methods fail. Yeah, that's going to be bummed. It is what it is. And I'll get over it quickly, but it will have a bit of a sting. The Freak says, wondering how much S-Jewel it will take. Oh yeah, and that's something I wanted to talk about right now also, is how much are y'all thinking about putting into S-Jewel? So one of our conversations from a little bit earlier was we're talking about how much some of us might be wanting to pull out from our liquidity pool gardens right now to get them into the S-Jeweler before the end of the 21st, right? So we got until the end of the 21st to get your funds into the S-Jeweler. And I was pointing out a little earlier that I've got nothing in S-Jeweler right at the moment, right? And so I'm gonna need to pull something out of my gardens. That's where the funds are. And so I've got, let's go into the Druid real quick. So I've got some Jewel Jade, some Jade Ethereum, some Jewel USDT. And if we look at this page right here for the bank, it looks like my values of that, it looks like I get about $1,500 of value into these liquidity pools. Most of it, of course, is into Jade Ethereum. Some of it is into Jewel USDT, and a tiny bit is just into Jewel Jade. I think I was just using this one as an example to get into a liquidity pool. Didn't really intend to do a lot with that. Although this was the liquidity pool I intended to get into most of right away. But the APR was not high enough for me to justify putting it in. So Jade Ethereum had a much higher APR. And so that's where I put most of my value in, right there, the one with the higher APR. So the question is, how much should we be thinking about pulling out if we don't have any new money to be putting in? How much are we pulling out of the liquidity pools to get into S-Jewel? Now here's the thing that I really want to be thinking about. Right now I've got nothing in S-Jewel. What do I want to put in here? Here is the big thing that I want to think about, and that is I have 10,000 Jewel or more into the jeweler on Crystal Veil. And that's where I think all of my bonuses are going to be, over there on Crystal Veil. Right? I think I'm probably going to be playing more on Crystal Veil than in Serendale. Why would I want to put in an extra 10,000 Jewel into the S-Jeweler here on Serendale, right? Why would I want to put in that much more here? And of course, one answer could be because that gives you 10,000 entries into a raffle. The problem is, if I do that and move 10,000 S-Jewel or 10,000 Jewel over here and lock that away for 3 years, we're talking about that's a lot of money to be locking away. And if I look at the jeweler over on Crystal Veil, I've got 1,051 days left locking away that 10,000 Jewel. That's a pretty substantial amount that is not earning me 3,000% APR right now, right? So here, let's just take a look at this Jewel that I've got. 10,000 Jewel. Let's just say that's times 20 cents right now. So that's $2,000. And if we take that and we multiply that $2,000 by, and I know that we're not going to have 1,800% APR for the entire year, but let's come back to our spreadsheet. So this is $2,000. So let's just say that there's $2,000 into this, and we're talking about 18,020% APR right now. In one day, I could be gaining $100, and in 1 week, that's $700 in gains. I definitely think that 1,820% APR is maintainable for the next 1 week, right? And it might go down a little bit, but even if it does go down to 1,500% APR, you're still talking that $2,000 that I've got sitting in the Crystal Veil jeweler right now, practically doing nothing for me, right? That $2,000 is practically doing nothing for me right now. We don't have power-ups. It's a tiny percent of APR rewards from the jeweler. And so I'm missing out on $575 a week, and it was a higher amount when those liquidity pools just opened, but that $2,000 of value could be doing a lot more for me in a liquidity pool than it's doing in that. I was going to use some adjectives that I decided not to use in this Crystal Veil jeweler at the moment. Now, I do strongly believe that putting value into the jeweler, once we start getting those power-ups, is going to be super important, right? And so you definitely want some in there. But do we really need 10,000 C-Jewel? Because some stuff that I've heard from Frisky Fox mostly, but Hubert also, or I guess Hubert mostly, maybe some Frisky Fox, is that the power-ups that we're going to be getting are not going to necessarily require that much. We could probably get away with 2,000 C Joule to pay for most of the power-ups that we might need. So there's a lot of value here in the jeweler that I'm never ever, well, for 3 years, is just sitting in there kind of being wasted, right? It's locked in for 3 years. Now, I did this on purpose. I have the money to put in there, right? It's not that big of a deal to me. And the main reason I did this was because I really wanted to go what I felt was giving myself a massive advantage to getting a Gen0, even though, you know, there are some people out there that were putting in way more than 10,000 C Joule. It's hardly anything compared to what some people were doing. This was a large chunk of my funds, and so I was overextending the percentage of funds that I have to play with into trying to get that Gen0. Now that that's passed, now that I didn't win it, and this didn't help me out that much, this value is just sitting in here doing practically nothing for the last month. Right. It's kind of way underutilized, way underutilized. And so, do I want to do the same thing in Serendale? I don't think so. I don't think I want to put in another 10,000 Joule for 3 years into Serendale, just because, you know, so many people weren't getting those that Gen0 from that. It would be better. Here's another way to look at this too, guys. If you have $2,000 into a 1,500% APR, and tell you what, let's even do this. Let's lower this APR to something like, what could we lower it down to 1,000% APR or even 800% APR? If I took that same $2,000 and we put it into a liquidity pool that even dropped down from, and remember that liquidity pool had been like 50,000, 60,000%, and then it dropped to 40,000, 20,000, and so on. So it's continuing to drop in APRs, but at the very beginning, the daily gains were much, much higher. So if we were to have a higher valued APR lasting an entire, or for quite a while, in 1 year, that $2,000 could gain me $16,000. That would be enough to buy a Gen0, right? So that 10,000 crystal, if applied properly, I mean, it's locked away for 3 years now. I mean, I can't do anything to it with 3 years. But in 1 year, utilizing that same value properly could have allowed me to buy a Gen0, flat out. So, in that particular case, you got to wonder, well, maybe it'd be better just to put that money into a liquidity pool, and even if it takes, you know, 3 years, right? So let's say that a Gen0 is worth $15,000. Let's say we can get a Gen0 for $15,000. And so this drops to 250% APR, even as low as 250, which I think is fairly easy to maintain, especially when it's higher. Then in 3 years, which that $2,000 value is locked away for 3 years in the jeweler, right? So if I was getting $5,000 a year for 3 years, that would be $15,000, and then again, I could buy a Gen0, and that's with 250% APR, right? Which I think would be easy to maintain. One of the things that you have to keep in mind, so some of you might be saying, well, that's unreasonable, Rock, because you're not going to have 250% APR the entire 1 year for that. Well, I know that. I'm just doing a quick averaging right now. And you got to consider, it started off to be 20,000, 15,000 APR. So that would have been way more weekly gains than this, way more than $5,000. And so if it drops down to even 100% APR, the amount of time that it was higher APR, I'm going to assume is going to balance out. But let's also not forget that not being locked away for 3 years in the jeweler would also mean that I could move that money around much more easily to get it into other things that would make me a lot more. So what happens when the next realm comes out after Clayton blockchain? Are we going to do Polygon? Are we going to do Phantom? Are we doing something else? What do you think the APRs are going to be when Polygon blockchain comes out, when Phantom blockchain comes out? Aren't they going to be 20,000, 30,000% APR again? And so I could move that money back into another massively high APR for the first 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks. And that's going to get me massive amounts. So even if you're talking about 20,000% APR, in 1 week, that $2,000 would get $7,000 of gain, right? Even if it was only down to $10,000, that $2,000 still gets you almost doubling your money in a week. And so if I was to do that in Phantom and also do that into Polygon, that same initial investment of $2,000, and get it plugged into a super high percent APR for only the first week in Polygon and only the first week when Phantom comes out, then I think that would be a good thing. And then I could buy that Gen0 before 3 years, right? So that's something that I would have to consider. Ghost Panda says, the only reason I'm doing them over there is because all the Gen0s are there. Oh yeah, that is, I guess that's true. There are a lot of Gen0s over there right now. So only plays I can rent. Summons have been paying off for me because I'm sitting on 505 Sheepies, yep, and have 6 spells. Wow, that's really good. Yeah, Ghost Panda, you go. Bar spellbow prices have been worth it. Yeah, I can imagine. Worm says, yes, 100%. I'd be in Crystal Bale for all of them otherwise. Yeah, I can definitely see that. Yeah, it didn't cross my mind right off the bat that everyone would have moved over their Gen0s, but I can definitely see that. Let's see, Ghost Panda says, I won a Gen0 from the Perilous Journey, bought my Legionnaire, so definitely not complaining about not winning. Yeah, I hear you there. I'm sure that most of us are going to win at some point. I'm expecting to win, and if I don't, I mean, that's just part of RNG, right? So I'm not going to be bitter about it, but definitely would love to win. Dr. J says, no Gen0 yet, so I'm using all my LP rewards to summon on, yeah. So one of the things that I'm doing, since I haven't won and I'd love to win, is I have to figure how much do I want to put into S-Jewel, and I do not think that I want to put in another 10,000 locked away for 3 years, just because it doesn't make sense. Like I was just showing you for the last 5 minutes or 10 minutes, I could buy a Gen0 by putting in $2,000 and just moving it around more regularly. So how much do I want to put into the S-Jeweler, and how much do I want to lock away in trying to get that balance? And I'm going to say, for me, just off the top of my head, without putting any thought into it, and I'm going to be putting some thought into it sometime soon, but I'm going to say, let's say maybe 2,000 S-Jewel. Maybe we're going to try to get 2,000 S-Jewel. So 2,000 Jewel in for 3 years, and that'll probably be an okay amount, right? So what would that be? 2,000 Jewel at 20 cents right now is, oops, did I not multiply that? $400 worth. Okay, yeah, $400 locked away for 3 years to try to get a Gen0 and have 2,000 raffle tickets in that particular mechanism. Sure, I think that is something that that's risk management enough for me to feel I could do that. Well, let's see. Sordo says I put in 12,000 into C-Jewel. Can pull the same for S-Jewel. Hoping for 4 to 5K is enough, though. So, Sardo, that's I'm glad that you can financially afford to do that. And if you can, I would say definitely go for it, right? For me, I don't want to put that much into it. Again, my finances are a little tight right now, so I've got to kind of juggle what I've got. If you got more to put in, I'd definitely say go for it. Definitely anything that can increase your chances to win is going to be better. But I've got a question for you, and that is, because you're going to be putting in maybe 12,000 possibly, or you're even hoping for 4 to 5K, are you going to be playing full throttle in both Crystal Vale and Serendale? Or are you thinking about choosing one of those realms more than the other for your gameplay? Have you given that much thought? Or have any of y'all given that much thought? If you're all going to choose one realm over the other, are y'all going to try to put equal amounts into each one of the jewelers? Now, something to think about also, what happens when Polygon opens up, or Phantom, or some of these other blockchains? Are y'all thinking about putting in, 12,000 into the jeweler on Phantom and 12,000 into the jeweler on Polygon and all these other things also? Is that what you're thinking about? And playing equally in all four of those realms and having the same advantage of power-ups in all four of those? Or are you going to try to lean a little bit more towards, one or two realms, or even three realms, and maybe ignore the fourth realm fairly much or something, right? Let's see. Self says, I thought Gen0 Summons were over 100,000 right now. I don't know. I don't know myself, but I'm sure that some of y'all have the numbers somewhere. Let's see. Self says, I did one 2 hours ago. It was worth, it was low 7,000s. Gotcha. What's up, people? Ferp. Hey, Ferp. How you doing today? Welcome on back in. Rock, how's it been going with you? Your Gen0s, what class do you have? Again, yes. So my Gen0s, I've not been doing much of anything with them the last 2 weeks. Probably should have been. I've got a Seer, Berserker Warrior, and I think Remnella actually needs to be leveled up. I want to get Remnella leveled up to level 10. So one of the things that I want to do today, tomorrow, I need to get some stam potions and send her through some stuff and get her leveled up. I need to figure out how many stam potions it's going to take to level her up to level 10, and then I can do some summons with her. So I've got a Seer, a Berserker Warrior, and then I've got... did I move these over already? The other two over? Let's go over to Clayton Blockchain. Heroes over here. So then I've got a Pirate Archer, which has been re-rolled. So this one actually needs to be leveled up. It looks like this one needs to be leveled up too. And this is the other Gen0, Berserker. So this one was re-rolled as well. So I had a Berserker or something else, and look at that. We got a Berserker now, which can be awesomely matched up with my Seer. So that's going to be a good combination, I think, right? Matching those up. And then the Pirate Archer is one that's been re-rolled already. So the only other one that I needed to re-roll was the Berserker Warrior. And before I re-roll that one, I think I'm waiting to get her up to level 10. Or no, I wasn't waiting on that. I was waiting just to get her up to level 9, and now I can re-roll. Dude, that's what I was waiting on. I just remembered. So do y'all want to re-roll my Gen0 right now? Is that going to be something fun and exciting for y'all to see? Let's go back to the DFK chain. Let me catch up in chat, and then we'll talk about re-rolling this Gen0 right here. Crystal Veil, hero number 30. This one right here, we're going to re-roll. All right, so let's take a look here. If they do power-ups for 15 to 30 Sigil, which is what we're thinking, right? I think that's right on target. Per hero, per 6 hero quests, Hubert stated, you can start adding up. Yeah, that is true. That is true. If you've got like 100 heroes and you're talking about spending 15 to 30 Sigil per hero for those quests, then yeah, I could see that. That will start adding up, won't it? That'll be interesting. Let's see, what place did 10k Sigil get you? If you're talking to me, I think that 10,000 Sigil got me... In fact, do we still have that? No, I don't have the spreadsheet up anymore. I think it got me around like 130, like position 130 or something. I think. Ghost Panda says about 150-ish. I was around the same. Ah, okay, yeah. So yeah, that sounds about right. Let's see. Ghost Panda didn't win either. Yeah, that's. I love that emoji. Yeah. This is. We can do emergency withdrawal. That costs 50% loss too. By the way, yeah, we could, but there's no way that I'm going to pull out. You know, I put in $2,000. There's no way I'm going to pull out $1,000 and lose $1,000 of 50% of my initial investment. That's insanity. Yeah, I would not do that. As always, now I'm glad that we have the ability to do that. But guys, don't invest any more money than you can afford to lose. In other words, to drop down to zero. And so that's what I did. I mean, the $2,000 that I put in, I was like, even if that $2,000 goes to zero, I can live with it. I'm fine with it. But because I'm fine with it, then there's going to never be an emergency where I need to take that out. I'm never, ever going to have an emergency where I need to take that out. Unless, of course, there's something like, hey guys, y'all need to pull out of this because there's a attack going on. And if you don't want to, you know, if you don't want to lose all your crypto, you better pull it out now. But in that particular case, I'm thinking that the dev team would probably compensate us for something there too, and we wouldn't actually lose our value. My plan is to make CV home base. Ghost Panda says. More transactions there means more burned gas in Joule. That's a really good point. I hadn't really given a lot of thought to the fact that the transactions on Crystal Vale are going to burn Joule more specifically, rather than any of these other realms that we're going to have. But, you know, every little bit of burned Joule does ultimately add up. And I am massively bullish on Joule for a long-term play. So yeah, I mean, if you want to be helping out your bags grow as much as you can, I think that's a good play, right? To be mostly in Crystal Vale. And it's okay to play in the other realms too, I think personally. Just CV as a home base, I think makes good sense. Does this kick an issue down the road, i.e. a bunch of unlocked Joule, a little less than 3 years? Oh, yeah. I mean, 3 years is a long time. And also something else is, I don't know how many people actually put in well, take that back. I think a lot of people just went the max and did 1,095 days. And we all did that like in the same week, right? Like as soon as the Crystal Vale jeweler opened, Sea Jeweler opened, a lot of us within that same short period of time put in a massive amount. So you are right, Sergeant. In 3 years from that date, whatever date that was, we could probably expect large amounts. And these people have been waiting 3 years for their money. It's very, very likely. Like I can already, even right now, I can think of a lot better things that I could be doing with my money right now than having it sit in the Sea Jeweler. However, let me caveat that with the fact that right at this very moment, we do not have power-ups. And so, of course, pulling it out and doing something, of course, I got lots of ideas of what I could be doing better with it right this minute. But if we get some really nice power-ups, then maybe keeping it in the jeweler for even longer is going to be better. What's going to be the determination on that, Sergeant, is the dev team has 3 years to build up a lot of utility for Sea Jewel. And 3 years is a mass. Look at what they've done in the last year since, I guess, you know, we just had DeFi Kingdoms' birthday a couple of months ago, right? So they were a year old. So look at all the stuff they've done in a year, even with the problems in the market and the crypto problems and the hack stuff and the Harmony chain, and even with all of that stuff, look at what they've accomplished in the last year. And what do you think that they're going to be able to accomplish in the next 3 years? And I'm going to say that when you start having more and more success over time, especially, I'm going to suspect that they're going to grow even faster over the next single year than they've grown over the past year. Not only do I feel that we're probably not going to have the same percentage of drops and the same hit on crypto again, like we're not going to have another 50% drop from here. I wouldn't think. It's possible, right? But I wouldn't think we're going to have another 50% drop from here. Maybe 20% I could see, right? I don't personally think we're at the floor right now. If we do see another 20%, it will be a big hit, but nobody's leaving and nobody's going to be too shocked. The people that are in right now, we're staying in. I don't think another 20% is going to kick any of us out of crypto, right? We're not going to sell our stuff at the bottom and get out. I doubt it. We're still in here now. So I don't think that we're going to see a massive loss of players if it goes down. And then over the next year, I would expect to see a lot more growth. So maybe even over the next year, they'll add their next realm. I do remember somebody, whether it was Frisky Fox or Bullen perhaps, or Hubert, one of them made a comment at some point that they were planning to add another realm every 6 months. Now I think that they've changed their mind and they've backtracked from that a little bit since then. In fact, just in the last AMA, there was a comment, and I forget who made it, that seemed to indicate that they weren't going to rush into the next realm quite as quickly as maybe they originally planned to, right? Because they said, well, now we're in our second realm, so we're not feeling as urgent to go into another realm. And there was some stuff said about that. So even though many months ago, it sounded like they were planning to move into a new realm every 6 months, maybe they're not going to do that quite so urgently this time. They want to focus more on productivity in the realms that they have rather than expanding to another one. But I'm going to suggest that they still have a plan and an interest to get into another realm. So it's very likely that over the next year, next 12 months, could we see them expand into another realm? Very probable. I could see them doing a realm a year as part of just their normal growth. But then also, I feel that with PvP and with Wisdom Gaming coming in, and imagine their growth with that. And I think over the next couple of months, 6 months, 9 months, year, 12 months, that as DeFi Kingdoms grows more, they're going to have more and more and more people and projects and developers, content creators jump and pile on. And so there's going to be a snowball effect. The small is rolling down the hill, it's getting bigger and bigger faster, right? And so I think that we're going to see a lot of that. And if that's going to be the case, then in 3 years, once people can unlock their jewel, or they're going to have access to that unlocked jewel at that point, I'm not necessarily sure that people are going to want to remove it. The only reason that I would want to remove it at that point is if I felt that there was a way that I could get more money more quickly. In other words, with all the power-ups that we could be getting in Sea Jewel, are those power-ups improving my heroes and pets and whatever else it's improving? Are all those power-ups giving me $300 a month in value? Or would it be better for me to move that $2,000 that I have in Sea Jewel? Would it be better for me to move that into something else where I'm getting $300 a month in some other way, or $500 or something like that? That's what it's really going to be. Do those power-ups give me and I'm just using $300 as an example number, right? Do those power-ups give me X amount of dollars a month from those power-ups? Or would I be better off moving in the liquidity pool and making Y amount of value? That's what's going to be looked at. And I would say that if we're about to launch another realm, then I think with knowing those high APRs are going to be super high within the first week or two, that I might go ahead and pull out of Sea Jewel, even temporarily, and put that into, put that into a liquidity pool for whatever new realm we're getting into. So I don't know, it just depends. But 3 years is a long time for them to have to build up. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about it. Maybe in 2.5 years, we should really take another close look at that, because it could be bad. It could be kind of bad. Like and go spend his comments on YouTube. You get Sergeant. Right. Let's see. Reroll time. TuneFed says, yes, this is time to reroll this Gen0. We're going to reroll this Gen0 as soon as I catch up in chat. John Wall says, reroll that. Absolutely, we're going to reroll it. Good luck on the reroll. Yep, got super lucky and turned my Seer into a D1R1. Okay. Hey, Rock. Nice. Mookie, welcome on in. Well, that's so also, Rock, the numbers on shapeshifters are crazy low. Yeah. They're very hyped for this unique traits matching class heroes will have. Absolutely. Same goes, I'll make CV my home base too, and did not plan to pull Seedual off. Yeah, I think really I will pull Seedual off if the money that can be made, the income that can be made is going to be more doing something different than the power-ups are giving me. But I think that 3 years is such a huge time to get so many new power-ups and so much more advantage. And Seedual, there's probably going to be so many more advantages I'll really need to consider. I can't say. I could easily see that Seedual power-up value would outweigh a lot of other things. All right, let's see. Y'all are talking amongst yourselves. If so, have you multiple spoke? Okay, so y'all are talking amongst yourselves. All right, let's go re-roll this. We've got Ramnella. Let's bring Ramnella into our portal. Is that where we do it? Let's come into the portal. Oh, you know what? Let's take one other thing first before we go too far. Ramnella has 52 summons already done. XP is low, so we know we're going to get some amount of XP for this. And then we're just going to re-roll all the stuff. So Ramnella's a gardener, and that's not going to change. So what we'd really like to see is something that might, I don't know. I mean, Ramnella's also a berserker, and that's not going to change either. So maybe having a subclass that's a gardener, maybe a little bit better of a gardener subclass could be a little bit more helpful, since we know we're going to be stuck with a gardener anyway. Maybe that's something that we're going to look at. All right, so let's get over into here and let's do the, hold on a second. This isn't where we want it, is it? Reroll. Is that reroll in the summoner? Or the Archdruid? Reroll. Okay, here it is, in the Archdruid. Let's go ahead to reroll this. Let's pull this up. Oh, before we do that, guys, if y'all are going to reroll any Gen Zeros, you got, looks like 20 more days to do that. So just keep that in mind. I think you could reroll. Guys, can y'all re-roll if you're winning Gen Zeros right now for Serendale? Like if you get a Legionnaire or a Scholar, can you re-roll those with this same re-roll here? Or do they not want you to do that because the Scholars and Gardeners already can't re-roll the new classes? Okay. And which makes sense. All right, let's go ahead and pull this up for Ramnella. Select this one. Let me catch up in chat. Y'all are saying a few things, and I don't want to do something silly if I'm about to do something silly. All I'm seeing is LFG. Nice. Yeah, let's get a matching R1 would be really nice. I would agree with that, TuneFed. Zerk R1 is what you want. That would be very nice. I definitely agree with that. Subclass is overrated for Gen Zeros. I would say that too, in general. But I mean, if we're going to get something, wouldn't we rather have something that's a little bit more geared towards the gardener, just to have that? And part of the reason that I would think that is, remember, when we're talking about the secondary growth, doesn't secondary growth come from your subclass? And so if we could get a subclass with a good wisdom or vitality, then that would, then when we're using an attunement crystal, that would be good for wisdom or vitality. That would really boost up that a lot more, right? And so I think that's where my mindset is. And so correct me if I'm wrong. If we can get a subclass that's better with wisdom and vitality, and then we can be using a attunement crystal when we are leveling up that focuses on wisdom and vitality, then ultimately that could help us out. And man, but maybe I'm putting a lot more weight into the gardening aspect than I should be, right? But again, my Gen 0 is never going to be combat, right? My Gen 0 is not going to ever, or no, I would say, generally speaking, Gen 0s aren't going to be good at PvP because they don't have advanced, transcendent, or any of that kind of stuff in their genes, right? They don't have those abilities of transcendent genes or elite or any of that kind of stuff. So you're not going to generally have those as high candidate PvP heroes. So what else are you going to do with them? Professions is what I'm thinking, right? Wouldn't you send most of your Gen 0s off for their professions more than PvP? Let's see. Yep, that would make the best thing. No, cannot re-roll the new class. Yeah. So far, I'm 1 for 2 with my pair. 1 for 2 in what way? In a bad way? Umar, did I miss something? Zabu says, remember Sergeant Stream with Dr. Z and how Zerker Gen 0 numbers are lower than Seers. Makes sense that I find more and cheaper Seers. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is true. I do remember that. Zabu says that's true. Also, Scholars less than Legionnaires right now, making them more pricey. I could see that, too. All right. Let's go ahead and roll for game and visual. So when we do that, we're going to reset to 0 summons, which is going to be great because right now I've got like 52 summons on this thing. New subclass is going to provide 2 or more relevant stats immediately, and I think that's going to be good. I'm personally going to try to shoot for something that's a bit more of a gardener. What do I really want to look for in that? Priest, Seer, Wizard, perhaps, right? But some of the things that we don't really want, like that warrior is way down here. We kind of want to get rid of that warrior. I'd be happy with a monk or a knight as well. Right? Let's just see what we get with that. So doing a seer would be good, I guess. All right. And then we're going to get some bonus items, which is always good. We're going to get 1 greater enhancement stone, 2 greater attunement crystals based on the new subclass, which is always nice for leveling them up later. And then we're going to get a bunch of other things. Oh, the experience is up to 12,000. This is why I wanted to level him up first, or level her up first, because all I need is 16,000 experience to get up to level 10, and getting up to 12,000 experience is like most of the way up the experience. So I didn't want to re-roll this one when I was just about to level up last week. So we wanted to get this one leveled up first, and now that it's leveled up, we can take advantage of that full 12,000 that I think we're about to gain here for the experience, because that's a lot of experience. We just don't want to let that slip away. So right now we've got a warrior, knight, wizard, warrior. We've got a main primary class of a berserker, which stays there. The pirate, it's what we want to re-roll. And as TuneFed and a couple of y'all are saying, we really want a Zerk here. I mean, yeah, we really want a berserker here for our ones. And I'm personally thinking that having a priest, seer, something like that over here for subclass is going to be better. And I would even say if we can get that to be like a seer, or priest, or something like that with a matching subclass D and R, that would be even more cool. But that's asking a lot, isn't it? Really asking too much for RNGesus to grant me those prayers. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to re-roll all of this stuff. And let's do it. Let's do it right now, guys. Let me catch up in chat, then we're going to click the button. Scholar would be nice for a chance at new classes. That's true, too. Yeah, it could be good. I wouldn't complain about a scholar. Heroes joining DFK duels should get some experience, too. I also think like heroes joining DFK duels. Yeah. I would agree with that. All right, let's re-roll this whole thing. You have chosen game plus appearance genes. This choice is permanent, cannot be reversed. Will you confirm? Yes, I am sure that I want to do this for Remnella. Go. Here we go, guys. Spin that wheel. Umar says, getting a spell bow. Let's confirm this on the blockchain. What are we going to get? Drum roll, please. And we end up with, after blockchain makes us wait. There we go. Reroll is complete. Woo! Remnella. What do we got now? Uh-oh, what's going on here? Did it take 2 steps? Did I just miss it? Look at this. Berserker. Berserker. All right. We have got a Berserker Thief. That's unfortunate. And we've got a Berserker Warrior. That's not what I was hoping for either. Although it is a Berserker Berserker with a dominant and subclass being the same, it's not really what I wanted. But it's could have been worse, I guess. Maybe. I did get the 12,000 experience, which brings me up to almost level 10. That's really good. And I did get, of course, a +2 to strength and a +2 to vitality, which is kind of good there because that does mean that we're a little bit better off for gardening, right, with that. Yeah, those horns are nice. Absolutely. I think, I forget what she looked like before. Forget if she had horns or not. But absolutely, I would say that the visuals, which I don't really care too much about myself, is good there. And then Ghost Panda, TuneFed's agreeing, says, shapies. Yes. So here is the thing. Let's take a look at this before we go too much further. Look at this. In the further back in recessive, Seer is back in there also. It's interesting. All right. And I kind of like that a little bit. It does mean that it's going to lean more towards Seer. When I have a Seer and I'm mixing it up with this Berserker here, then that's going to be, let's just see. All right, so let's go ahead and fix or check out what we're going to do with this. I think it's over here. Sign in. And home and hero data, something like this. Yeah. So let's put in something like that. Remnella. Look at this. And we're going to pair that up with a Seer, which I think the Seer is in here also. It's Harsel right here. So 1355. We're going to pair it up with that one. There we go. 2 legendaries, a Berserker gardening and a Seer gardening as well. So we've got legendaries in both. Shiny yes, shiny no. These two really need to get up to level 10s, I think. I'd rather this be level 10s. And then let's go down here and check out what we've got, guys. So we've got a little bit of stat history stuff, which I don't know if we want to look at too much, but this is what we want right here. Or do we just want to jump down to the summoning chances? So 30, 30, 14. And here we've got 33, 30. Unfortunately, there's 18% chance for warrior before the 14% chance for shapeshifter. But it is what it is. 86% chance for gardening. So here's where we got some interesting things right there. And that is Seer is going to be good at gardening, and Shapeshifter isn't terrible at gardening. So for us to have a little bit more focus on gardening rather than Berserker, I'm fine with that. Foraging is 10%. Mythic is 2.67%, and Legendary is 5.38. What that really means is we've got about an 8% chance. That's not too bad, an 8% chance to be getting Legendary Mythic, one of those. I think that's decent chance. Also, if we're getting a gardener, if we're almost so much of a chance to get a gardener, 86% chance, look at this, 37% chance for wisdom, 9% for vitality right there. So that's pretty decent for a green stat boost for wisdom. However, I am noticing not much wisdom here, not much vitality. So if we're going to be getting a gardener, then we don't have the stat boost to really pair up with that. But if we are going to be getting a seer, maybe we do want something like, I don't know, luck would not be the one that I would want. So I'm not sure about that. And I see y'all looking into the advanced stats. Let's catch up with what y'all are saying. Since you had a seer this already, this is nice. We'll take that, absolutely. Advanced 3 is nice percent. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. Whoa, pair has built-in advanced chances too. 10-10 advanced is great. Yeah. Oof, yes, Ghost Panda, the gap is wider, I think too. It is expensive and harder to find rentals. Yeah, that could be. Build some advanced babies with the summons left. Make some elites. All right, so let's take a look at some of this. Advanced ones. We've got basic. There is a small advanced 4 for active 1. We've got a 80 up, again, Mosh odds, 0.88 in an active for advanced 2. Passive 1, 0.37, not very much, but look at this. Advanced 3 and passive 2. 17.5%. That's pretty decent. That's pretty decent, right? And then, of course, the elements I don't really care about. The background I don't personally care about. Let's scroll down a little bit further. I don't care much about the visuals, but as we just glance through here, advanced. There's an advanced at 9. I don't see much more advanced stuff there. And then here, stats unknown, small percent chance, not really much of anything to say. Visual unknowns. Oh, here's one. Visual unknown 2 has a 14, almost 15% chance. So that's interesting. Has a decent amount of chance for that. So let's do a few other things, right? Because we know that we've got this Berserker, and this Seer. But I've got another one as well. So there is that combination. What about the other one that I have? So let's flip over to, oops, not this, to Clayton. And look at this. And look at this Berserker. This one's only a rare Berserker, and it's 81. Pull that up. So now we're going to use our Seer with Galena, who is a Berserker mining. Rare, Gen 0, all this kind of stuff. Both of these are shiny, which is kind of like that, just to have it. So let's scroll down and see what they get for their stuff. Summoning chances. So we've got 32, 30, 14%. Here we've got a 14% here as well. However, we don't have that 18% chance warrior getting in the way of that, which in a way, at this pair might be a little bit better then, right? Because we don't have the warrior getting in the way. we only have a 49% chance for gardening, and so our mining chance goes up a little bit more. And we generally, I think a lot of us like miners for things, so it could be kind of good to get a miner more often perhaps. We've got only a 7% chance instead of an 8% chance for legendary mythic combination, just because Galena is a rare instead of legendary. We've got a 38% chance for wisdom, which would be good for gardener. I don't particularly like the 39% chance of luck. But we also have a 12% chance for a blue stat boost, which is much better than what we had in the other pair, right? If we come down to here and look at what some of our active passives are, we can see that we've got, again, Mashad, super low chances for some of these things in here, and a 4% chance for this active 3. So not necessarily as good a chance with that as over here, which we had a bit higher, right? 17.5% chance to get that active 3 right there. And now we still have an active 3, but it's down to only 5%, so not quite as good, right? If we scroll down a little bit and we look at these other things, we've got advanced there for a little bit, not much that I care about with that. 3.5% for that advanced. Let's see, 15% for a back app advanced. Looking at some of these others, too small. There's a 17% chance for visual unknown. All right. So interesting stuff around here. Okay, so let's ask this. We've got 2 opportunities for the Seer to get paired up with. I've got 2 Berserker Gen 0s now, right? Which one do you think would be better off to pair with, or should I swap them out? Should I go one time and the other time? Remnella or Galena for these pairs? Just swapping out the Berserker each time. So the difference that I really think is I think that this second one personally is probably a little bit better, because we don't have, so my reasoning is, before I look at chat and see what y'all are probably going to recommend, my reasoning that the second one's better is because we don't have the 18% warrior getting in the way of the 14% shapeshifter. So I think that makes it much more likely to get a shapeshifter, even though I guess technically it's the same percent chance to get the shapeshifter technically. So in that respect, it doesn't really matter. Also, because I would think I would prefer a mining hero than a gardening hero, just in general. And so if I keep pairing the other 2 together, I've got a lot higher percent chance to get the gardener. Although the legendary mythic really goes down to 7%, the wisdom's up, and the wisdom's up here, which is good. I mean, that could be a good reason to go with this first pair. So again, here's the first pair. We've got that 18% chance for a warrior that I don't particularly like, but overall, just about the same percent for shapeshifter. Way large profession for gardening. We do have a slightly higher chance to get a legendary mythic, one of those. So I'm going to ask y'all, and then we're going to look in chat. So this is the first pair right here. This is the first pair, and this is with the warrior. The second pair has the 1436, and it does not have the warrior getting in the way, even though it has a smaller chance for this legendary. It also does have only a 4% chance to get this passive, whereas the first pair has a 17.5% chance to get that passive there. So that's the big thing. I guess the things that I would be questioning is what y'all feel is important is, do you think it's more important to be trying to shoot for this 17.5% advanced 3 passive at 17%, even though there's a warrior in there and super high gardening? Or would you rather go for the second pair, which has lower advanced, but we don't have the warrior in the way, and it's got a better chance for mining? And professions, again, a lot of people are going to probably say professions isn't going to be that big of a deal, so we probably don't want to care about professions as much as I seem to be putting weight onto that right now. But let's go ahead and see what y'all have to say here in chat. Build some advanced babies with the summons. Yes. Make some elites. I hear that. You love blue or purple luck, so that's interesting. So yeah, if we've got 39% luck here and 78% luck on that one, that would make a purple quite a bit of time on luck. And even though luck isn't going to help us with gardening or mining, I mean, I know some people like luck. I need to start stamp potting my Gen0. Can't wait to use Greater Atonement on its first level up. That would be cool, yeah. Ghost Panda says, someone in Gen Chat just said, just coming back to AME after 6 months and found out he won a Gen0 Legionnaire. Oh my goodness. Came back to the game after 6 months, found out he won a Gen0 Legionnaire. Welcome back, man. Whoever that was. Welcome back after 6 months. My goodness. Yeah, that'd be a nice surprise to find in your thing. Yeah, must be a nice surprise indeed. Seems like they want to sell too. Oh yeah, I mean, they might not care about the game so much, especially if they've been gone for 6 months. They might not know what kind of really cool stuff is right around the corner. Yeah, if they want to sell it to me for, 500 crystal, I'd be down. Even if they want to sell it to me for 1,000 crystal, I'd do it. Let's see. TuneFed says, pair the two legendaries, in my opinion. That had the passive active 3, yeah. So, I think it's this first pair here. That's the two legendaries. Even though they have a higher chance to get the warrior, the shape-shifting percent is technically just about the same. And even though the profession has a chance to go for the gardener, you do have a much higher percent chance to get that advanced. And when you think about PvP, which again, that seems to be what the devs are really talking about, is going to be more important to us, then you're probably going to want to have an advanced 3 more often than a gardening profession, right? Yeah, you're probably right on that. Let's see. Gardening is whatever, right? Would not overvalue professions considering pets. Yeah, pets can change that kind of stuff too. That's a really good point. First pair, Panda also agrees. Yeah, 100%. So the Rock 808 community account now owns 2 Zerks Gen0s. That is correct. Yeah. Yeah. If y'all want to, put those to good use, we could think about how to do that. So yeah, we own 2 Zerks. I'm going to say, so, okay, here's a good question then. Some of y'all have been really adamant, I guess would be a good word, to re-roll these Gen0s. Do y'all think now that we have got these Zerks, there's a Berserker, rare, and it's got mining, which is good. Also, having a Zerk miner is even better too for that, right? Because now you've got 20% strength, there for the mining stuff as well, right? In the secondary growth because of the Berserker stuff. And for mining, that's even going to be better. So when we get another chance to re-roll, do y'all think I should re-roll Galena? That's going to be my next question. We've got a Zerk with mining. Would we want to re-roll this for the advantages that re-rolls get, right? So re-rolls are going to mean a lot more possibility for experience. Of course, right now, you see we're maxed out. We can go ahead and level Galena up right now. Probably should do that. And of course, there are other benefits like getting the stones and the attunement crystals and all that kind of stuff there. But we're most likely going to lose our subclass of Berserker. And if we take a look at Galena a little bit more over here, right? So here's Galena. And if we take a look at the underlying stats, class is Berserker Warrior. So as I understand what some of y'all probably want, some of y'all would rather see Berserker in dominant recessive rather than seeing Berserker in class subclass, right? I also noticed we got a Legionnaire in recessive 1. That's kind of nice for Galena with the reroll that we had there. Let's see. TuneFit says, I'll rent your pirate for Honk. Yeah, that's interesting. So let's go ahead and take a look at the pirate real quick as well. So we got a pirate archer who is also a miner and with blue strength, right? So this is a really good Gen 0 right here, I think. Archer or pirate is good for mining. Archer is good for mining. It is mining. So if we take a look at this, which is Crystal Veil 1354. Let's go ahead and paste this over here. 1354. Then Gurnin right here. And so we've got this legendary level 11 pirate archer mining, which is really good. Then down here we've got a pirate berserker, archer berserker, mining, gardening. I don't know about all that. But not too shabby. And yeah, this pirate right here, I've had on, I've had for rent before, and it's rented quite often. In fact, this had been one of my most commonly rented heroes, so it's pretty good. Let's see, makes a better match for miners than my pair. Oh, interesting. Yeah, TuneFit, I wouldn't mind renting this out to you. I'm more Cirques for Ox rerolls than seems to be himself. Yeah, I'm, I don't know. Oh, you're in public and you got some weird looks. Like, yeah! People looking at you weird. Yeah, as far as my rerolls go, I don't know, man. I'm a little excited about them, I guess. I mean, I guess part of the reason that I might not be more excited is because maybe once I start actually doing some summons with them and I see us actually getting some advanced stats out of those and re-rolling some shapeshifters and hitting that a couple of now and then. I mean, it is going to be exciting. Maybe I'm just not showing it quite as much, but I mean, these are good rerolls, right? In fact, I think I was blessed. I had a really good RNGesus in all 3 of the Gen 0s that I re-rolled. It would be hard to ask for more than what I got. I mean, I guess anyone could always ask for more, but I'm pretty happy with the things that I got. They certainly could have been a lot worse. Benda says, that one is tough. Berserker's secondary stats definitely add for miners, absolutely. But the Gen 0 more important for summoning than for questing, so I'd probably try for the R1. You know, that it really is a good point. So if we're looking at this a little bit more, this Gen 0, we really want those Gen 0s for summoning more than questing. And even though this Berserker subclass does give us higher strength, better for mining and all this kind of stuff, I've got to agree with you, Ghost Panda. when you think of what the purpose of a Gen0 is, to be involved in summoning Gen 1s, that's really what you should be looking for. And I would say that the professions and the subclasses probably should not matter as much when you start to think about that. Yeah. I don't know how many more chances we're going to get to reroll, but I think that we'll get to reroll at least 2 more chances, right? So we're going to get chances to reroll. We're pretty much certain to get at least 2 more realms. And I'm going to say that for each of those 2 new realms, as we get the new classes that come out, we'll have chances to reroll. So do I think that I would be able to get better stats over the next 2 things? And I would say, I don't know. I mean, it's a risk. Also, as more classes become available, the likelihood of you getting a certain class is less, right? I mean, if there's only 4 classes and you're going to reroll, and you got a 25% chance to get each one of those. But as more and more classes come out, the chances of you getting that R1 of a Berserker gets less and less each time too. So. And TuneFit says, yes, because that will boost your Shapey chances significantly as well. Plus the reroll rewards are tough to pass up. Yeah, those reroll rewards, tough to pass up. Not surprised, that is a great Gen0. Yeah, I think that pirate is pretty decent. Oh yeah, and the summons cost reset. That is something that I wasn't even considering right there, but that absolutely. So if by the time the next realm comes out that we can get, I'm sure that I will have summoned with this Gen0 more than 12 times by the time absolutely, it's going to get summoned quite a bit. So yeah, and it'll be time to do a reset, and that'll really cut down costs quite a bit, especially with the summoning raffle. Right, that is true. That is very true. So the cheap summons for Serendale tickets, and when they open up a new realm, there's probably going to be a summoning event in the new realm as well. So it makes sense that you would want to do that, right? Cebu says, you don't really sell Gen 1s or heroes, right? In general, I don't. But that's only because right now I don't feel I have enough heroes. I've got close to 80 heroes or something like that. And I hardly have any. I mean, the only legendaries that I have are the Gen0s that I bought. I have not summoned any legendary or mythics. I don't own any mythics at all. And I don't know how many rares that I own, but probably not very many. So let's do a quick look. It's not there. Rarity at rare or above. So these are the only 3 that I have on Serendale. These 2 Gen0s, the Gen0 Pirate, the Gen0 Zerg at Legendary, and then I've got this other rare Pirate right here that I've had for a little while in this realm. So then if we go over to DFK chain, and we do the same thing over here, rarity on those, apply. I've got 6 more over here. So I've got a total of 9 heroes that are rare or above. And as you can see, I've got 3 legendaries. These 2 plus the other one in the other place. And then I've got these 6 rares. 2 rares on the other realm, and then these 4 rares right here. Other than that, they're all commons and uncommons. And so for that reason, I don't feel that I have enough heroes that I would want to do a lot of sales right now. I'm also a little bit more interested in either leveling them up so they have a higher value for when I do sell them. I'd want to sell them for, I'd rather sell a level 10, especially since I'm running with bots, right? The bots are just leveling up on a regular basis without me having to do a lot. And then some heroes like this one and like these are staying level 1 because they have specific goals as a level 1 hero, right? So some of them might be level 1s because they're going into the DFK duels, and we want to pair them up, you know, with something that might be a little bit more advantageous against duels. And so like for these, we've got these mountain strength heroes right here. So we've got a couple of mountain strengths with the Dark Knight and the Berserker, and then in the mountains. And then we've got some other ones like this Thief Seer level 1 that might be staying level 1 because of Fight Club and stuff like that, right? So these, some of these might be okay for Fight Club, but some of them might not be great for Fight Club. Like I'm not sure, as an example, that Dark Knights, level 1 Dark Knights, are really good for Fight Club at all. I have never seen Bogside Chats or Adventures in DeFi Kingdoms, you know, when they're doing their YouTube videos on which are the best Baby Cup heroes to have. Dark Knights haven't been that. So this is really for the DFK duels, right? Other than that, I'd plan on leveling up all these guys. And also, you know, you're talking about not really selling heroes. I've got several heroes like these level 1s that have a very specific purpose. And because of that, like I've got a set of 9 heroes that is specifically set up for DFK duels with the war, or the 9 versus 9. And I think they're calling it battalion now, maybe. I don't know if they officially changed the name on that or not. I guess we could go and look, right? DFK duels is open right now, isn't it? So let's go over to, what, the castle? Is that where I'm going to find that? Or is that in the, I think it may be in the tavern over here. They put these things, let's see, Ghost Panda says tavern, yeah. There it is, duels. So if we do this, oh, they are still calling it war. Okay, I thought they had changed the name of it. Can I look at view duels, like my duels, completed duels? Oh, is this just for this season? Is that why it's empty? Yeah, so I might have to relook at what's going on with my duels. So here's something else, guys. I am doing the DFK helper bot for this particular account. I've still got the waifu bot, and I really do like that for as a less expensive way to automate questing and all that kind of stuff. But I will say that DFK Helper has some amazing features that the waifu bot just does not have. And one of those things is the duels. So what I can do with the duels is I've got my solo, my squad, my war, and then I can put the hero ID numbers that I've got for those. And so I've got, you know, those duels set up to do each of those 3 types: the solo, the squad, and the war, and all that kind of thing. Let's see. What's going on here? Solo pool. I think what the deal is, I think they've made a change, right? So if we go into, where is it? If we come into Discord, and DFK Discord specifically, I think what we're going to find is there was a change in how duels works recently. Let's see. Let's catch up in a little bit of this stuff here. That's just talking about that. Had their videos, AMA stuff. I did end up watching the other day's AMAs. Okay. DFK Duels Season 2. Let's read that right here. So I've already read this once, but I wanted to read it online just in case anybody who's watching the stream has not read this yet, right? So DFK Duel Season 2 is officially started. The season will run for 8 weeks from December the 14th, which started like 4 days ago or so, up until February the 8th. So you've got a little bit of time to do this. So get your lone wolves, your squads, and your battalions prepped. And that's where I thought that maybe they had changed the name to battalions because of this, but apparently they did not change the name officially. For an all-out hero card brawl, let's get them buckled up, right? Because this season will bring some big improvements, exciting perks, and fun twists. Yeah, so let's definitely, if you're not familiar with this already, let's make sure that y'all are all up to speed on DFK Season 2. And let me ask, so some of y'all have maybe already played a couple of duels in Season 2 already. If you just want to throw in chat, anyone who has, what is y'all's first impressions, like in the last week or couple of days, of the new DFK duels? Do you like it a lot more, a little bit more, less? What are y'all's first thoughts? Just a short little, I like it more, less, about the same, way better, whatever. And I'm going to keep reading right here. So check out our Medium article. So they do have a Medium article, and I have not read that Medium article yet. So I'm going to open that up into another thing. We're not going to read this right now. Maybe tomorrow. We'll end up reading it on stream tomorrow. I've only got a few more minutes on this stream today, so we'll save that for tomorrow. But some of the highlights are going to be matchmaking improvements. Matchups will be based on a combination of hero level and player rank, with older player entries expiring over time. This is a reason that I want to make sure to have my heroes at a certain level, right? I want level 1 heroes that are, you know, swamp or mountain or just whatever they are, with a certain set of backgrounds. And of course, I want them all the same. And then, of course, player rank, as those heroes, as my set of heroes starts to win more, I would hope that they do, my player rank will go up, and of course, that'll change over time. So, great. Next, they're going to have class and subclass bonuses, which this is new, right? So this class and subclass, I don't think were ever taken into account at all in Season 1 duels, right? You had a stat, like strength or endurance or dexterity, and then you had the background of the image, mountains, swamps, whatever. And then you had a, whatever the other thing was that you had really no control over, like the electric, what was that called? I care about it so less, I don't even know. Ice, earth, the element is what that is. So, right. Yeah. All right, so back over to here. So the class and the subclass, I don't think came into play at all, if I remember correctly. I wasn't too deep into the duels, but I don't think that ever came into play. Now it does. Class and subclass bonuses will be applied based on a 12-hour rotating selection of boosted classes and subclasses. Now that, oh my goodness. Because of this, I think one of the things that this little thing is getting at is this to prevent the bots from doing their thing, right? Because coming back over to here, as my bots, I had these specific heroes that were always in rotation, and these heroes would always go on the war, right? They'd just be run one after the other after the other. And now I cannot send these same heroes again and again and again, because and not be at the top of my game, not be top dog, because they're all going to have different classes and subclasses, unless you try to buy with all the same backgrounds and all the same classes and subclasses, which is just outrageous. I mean, but I guess some people could do that, right? If you really wanted to get massive advantages for your duels, you would probably try to buy whole collections of heroes that have matching classes and subclasses. Well, I shouldn't say, yeah, different matching classes. So you have one group of Berserker matching classes, you have one group of Scholar matching classes, and so on. And then that way, whatever the rotating random selection was, you would have heroes to plug in there waiting for that, which is another reason why I'm always going for level 1, because there's no way that I say no way. I don't personally want to try to deal with leveling up a bunch of or buying, maybe that's what it is. If I want to be participating in duels, I want the largest selection of heroes that I have that can go play in those duels. So, and if now they're going to include classes and subclasses, it's a lot easier when heroes are like $4 right now. It'd be a lot easier for me to buy another 9 heroes at, $5 to $7 heroes. I could easily buy another 10 of those, or nine of those heroes for another 3v3, where all of those are going to be in the same class, right? And so if I wanted to buy another 40 heroes, right? 40, or actually I guess 9 times 4 is 36 heroes, where I could have 4 sets of 4 different classes, then that would be a lot easier than trying to have a bunch of level 5s, level 10s, and so on. At any rate, this kind of throws things off a little bit for what we had been doing before. And as we look back at this, I think that is now why Zelius has been very good at changing this. I don't remember seeing these pools anymore, but now it looks like we do have pools of heroes that could all be selected from, rather than static hero ID numbers. And now the AI, or the bot, will pull from the pool of heroes, which Zelius is amazing at how fast he's on the game of adjusting the things it needs to adjust for us to be successful with our bot service, right? At any rate, then we also, on top of that, have hero daily limits. So we can't just keep sending those same heroes again and again and again all through the same day. To encourage better duel diversity, we're adding daily limits for individual heroes, separating limits for each duel type. So again, this just means, I think this again is a specific, I don't want to say the word attack, but block. Let's use the word block. I think this is a very specific block to botting, right? Which isn't going to stop botting, because now all we do is, the bots have pools of heroes that they pick from. However, it does limit it a little bit more. And we talked about this a little bit yesterday. This does bring up more of a pay to win scenario, because now to win, I can still win, but it means I'm going to have to pay to buy more variations of heroes, right? I'm going to have to buy a lot more variations of heroes, where I have a pool of maybe 30 heroes that are all the same, the same classes and all this other kind of stuff. So it's going to pull from those classes of heroes, and we're not going to be repeating those same heroes, or they're not going to fall into the problem of having just been used. And to do that, I mean, if I have money, or if a person has money, then they're more likely to be able to afford a larger pool of heroes to pull from, rather than someone without money. So even though I can see what the dev team is doing, in effect, they've raised the bar, or the price, for a pay to win scenario, right? And not that that's a bad thing. I personally don't know any way around a pay to win scenario with blockchain games, as we talked about a lot yesterday. I just don't see any way around it. It's going to become more and more obvious as time goes on, but I think that that's just going to be a fact of life that blockchain games are going to have to deal with. Anyway, let's talk about some more of these new things that the duels have. Hero season locks. Heroes can only participate in duels from a single wallet for the current season. Heroes that have already participated will display that information in the taverns for buyer awareness. Right, so that's something too that I think is really good, that the taverns are now going to show that hey, you might not want to buy this hero if you're specifically buying this hero for the duels this season. As long as you're are willing to go for it next season and the season after, that's fine. I also think it's probably a good thing to have heroes locked to a wallet for a season. I mean, you're only talking 8 weeks, right? And unless you're trying to do some kind of fancy manipulation stuff, I mean, I could see that there could be some people that could have legitimate other reasons for moving around heroes into different wallets. But in that particular case, I would say, suck it up, live with it. Ranks and rewards. This blurb won't do justice to the entire ranking system has been overhauled to provide quicker and more meaningful rewards to players as they win and progress. When you reach a new rank, you'll get treated to a fantastic new rank up stinger, which I guess is like a splash screen or something, and a screen to claim your new rank rewards instantly. Or wait to claim dual modal laters and enjoy the beautiful new rank art for your dual profile as you get more powerful and defeat more opponents. That sounds pretty cool. I know a lot of people are really into the graphics and the interaction and the engaging aspects of a lot of this stuff. So I think that's good. Season 1 rewards. To that end, you can go back and claim Season 1 rewards in-game dual interface based on the previous rank system. We're excited to continue building on top of DFK Dual Framework. These improvements will provide much more rich and rewarding experience as the player. Every season will continue tweaking and improving. I think that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Sounds like the duels are a lot better right now, even though I made a couple of comments about the subclasses and all that kind of stuff. I think overall this is a good improvement, and I do like it. Activist and Jester stuff, take a minute to look at those. Yep. And get ready. Let's get ready to do well. Like Rumble, I guess, right? All right, let's catch up in chat, and then it's 6 o'clock time, so I'm going to wrap up stream. But definitely, I'm going to be trying to pick out a new collection of heroes that I can move into the pools for the new way that DFK is doing duels. So, because I definitely want to get access to some of those dual rewards and all that kind of stuff. In the meantime, let's catch up in chat, and then we're going to head out for the day, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. So, much better, but very different than the last. You say it's better, but different. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'm expecting also. It's a lot better than before. Bots have a harder time for sure. Yeah, I think they do, which I'm all for, even though I use a bot. I don't think anyone wants to not have a fun time. And if I'm going to be using a bot, that's just because I can't do all the things that I want to do, and I want to take advantage of some of that. But at the same time, if people are playing manually, we don't want the bots to take over and make it not fun for those people not using bots. And I definitely would not want the bots that I'm using to make the game not fun for a larger amount of people, right? So to put limitations or to make it harder on the bots, even though I use it, I'm all for it. I want more people to have more fun with the game. And I think that that's going to mean a lot more people without bots to have a lot more fun, right? That's what I'm really looking for. Matchmaking still somewhat funky. It's okay, I guess. It's good to know. I'm glad to see they're working on it, but I can understand how maybe they still need to tweak a little bit more, but they're moving in the right direction. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's good. Uncommon high levels are better than legendary mythic low levels in general. Ooh, that's interesting. Uncommon high levels are better than legendary mythic low levels. That's good for me because I don't have a lot of legendary mythics, but I'm big on the commons and uncommons, and I can get them up to a higher level. So for me personally, I like that. TuneFed, if you want tickets, Fight Club is better, even though rewards are lower than duels. So, TuneFed, we don't have a lot of time left in the stream, but the tickets that you're getting for Fight Club, does that mean you have to win a lot of the Fight Club games? Or even just entering gets you automatically more tickets through the Fight Club stuff? I don't really fully remember how the tickets work in Fight Club. I know you get some, but I forget if you get more and more and more based on the amount that you're winning. And if that's true, then you might have to be like, if I know that I'm only going to win maybe my first fight, Would it be better for me to get into Fight Club or better for me to get into duels? If I know that I'm only going to win my first fight in Fight Club, right? Also, Fight Club might not be going quite as often. So even though it might be a little bit better, maybe overall I'd get more tickets through a bot in duels that are doing every single day than in Fight Club that I only have one fight every month, right? Or only have a few fights in a tournament in a month. Because you can have much higher win percent. Duels are fun. Claiming rewards, each rank is way better. Cool, interesting, fun. So looks like tomorrow, let's try to do some stuff in duels tomorrow when we get on stream and see how that goes a little bit more. Yes, if you do one crystal match, they added a low. Oh, that's right, because you don't even need to be in the tournament anymore, right? Yeah, I seem to remember that for Fight Club. You don't even have to be in a tournament. You can just be on those crystal matches. Yeah. You get 72 if you win, and the I team, yeah, right. I remember that now. People are still sleeping on Fight Club tickets for the most part. Yeah, I know. I've got an AI team, but I'm not doing anything with that. If that's what you mean by sleeping on it, or maybe we haven't just paid attention. I need to get back in there. Yeah, I would say Fight Club. Last I looked, now that we're talking about this a bit more, I do seem to remember Fight Club really had some good things in there, and I wanted to get back in there a little bit more. There's just so much to do already. I mean, just think about when more stuff comes out. It's going to be crazy. I already don't have enough time in my day as it is to do everything I want to do with DeFi Kingdoms. Yeah, they added whale options. Yeah, that's really going to be good too. 55 crystal games, nice. I don't think that that's for me, but I definitely know some people are really going to love those whale options and to get in there. Absolutely right. Yeah, that'll really help out. All right, guys, it is a little after 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the stream. Thanks so much, Ghost Panda, TuneFed, hanging out with me, being part of the conversation. I know that we probably have lots of other people, Zabu, in here as well. I know we've got lots of other people that have been hanging out, lurking a little in the background a little bit. I appreciate y'all, even if you haven't been quite as active in chat. I know that when some questions are asked and y'all have some input, that y'all jump in here and say hi, so really appreciate that as well. We're going to be, excuse me, I'm going to be trying to get on and do morning streams again. Still challenging to do that. I was hoping to today, and we didn't get to it. I'm hoping to tomorrow to get onto a morning stream on Twitch. But at least I figured I'd do at least the afternoon stream on YouTube. So we definitely see that tomorrow, hopefully on Twitch. Until then, guys, there's lots of great content out there. I haven't even caught up with everyone's streams. I know Grady has a stream that I need to catch up on that I haven't watched yet. I did catch up with like 4 videos from yesterday. I watched 4 videos after yesterday's stream for myself. So I am catching up, but there is still more. So there's plenty of other stuff for y'all to watch out there too. Lots of good content coming up. Until then, I will see y'all tomorrow. Rock out.